You may have shopped at Aldi dozens of times, carefully comparing prices, moving quickly, and feeling confident in your choices, but chances are you're still shopping the way Aldi wants you to, not the way that benefits you the most. That's because Aldi doesn't just sell low-priced groceries. They sell a system designed to guide shopper behavior from how you grab a cart, move through the aisles, and choose products to that familiar feeling of "this is a great deal." If you don't understand the mechanics behind it, you might save in the right places, but just as easily overspend in the wrong ones. These are the insights that help you see the rules of the game more clearly, so the next time you walk into Aldi, you control the cart, not the other way around. You'd be awesome if you liked this video. The 25-cent cart deposit system. Right from the parking lot, Aldi shows how differently it thinks compared to the rest of the retail industry. Shopping carts are chained together, and you need a 25-cent coin to unlock one. The first time many people encounter this, they feel annoyed or inconvenienced, and some even think Aldi is being cheap. In reality, this is one of Aldi's smartest moves. The 25 cents isn't a fee, it's a behavioral trigger. Once you put the coin in, you automatically take responsibility for that cart. You use it, finish shopping, and return it to get your quarter back. No employees chasing carts around the lot. No carts rolling into other people's cars. No money spent repairing damaged carts. With one small action from the customer, Aldi eliminates a massive cost that other supermarkets quietly absorb every year. At many large chains, collecting and replacing shopping carts can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars per store. Aldi removes that expense entirely, not by cutting service, but by getting customers to voluntarily do what should already be done. And the system almost runs itself. If someone leaves a cart behind, there's always another shopper happy to return it in exchange for the quarter. No reminder signs, no staff monitoring the lot. More importantly, this system creates a very different shopping rhythm. People who shop at Aldi tend to buy efficiently, get what they need, then leave. There's less wandering around with an empty cart, stopping at extra sections just to look. The cart becomes a functional tool, not an excuse to add more items. Chocolate and European imported products. If there's one section that surprises most people when they walk into Aldi, it's the chocolate aisle and the European imported items. Not because of fancy displays or elaborate packaging, but because of a strange, almost suspicious feeling. The price seems far too low for what you're holding. Many shoppers pick up a chocolate bar and flip it over a few times just to make sure they didn't misread the price. This isn't luck. Aldi has a very real historical advantage. The company was founded in Europe and worked directly with manufacturers in Germany, Belgium, Ireland, and France decades before expanding into the US. Those unfamiliar-sounding chocolate brands aren't knockoffs. They're authentic products made to European standards using real cocoa butter, clearly defined cocoa percentages, and production processes designed for demanding markets. Unlike many other retailers, Aldi doesn't turn chocolate into a luxury accessory. They don't tell long brand stories, slap on artisan labels, or inflate prices through packaging. What they cut is the cost that usually forces shoppers to pay 3 or 4 times more elsewhere. You're not paying for advertising, premium shelf space, or a manufactured sense of luxury. You're paying for ingredients and craftsmanship. That said, this is also where many shoppers make mistakes if they're not paying attention. Aldi operates in two very different worlds. One side is proper European imported chocolate, usually placed on higher shelves with clean packaging and clearly labeled country of origin. The other side is ultra-cheap seasonal candy wrapped in plastic, overly sweet, and meant more for novelty than quality. Choose the wrong one, and the experience is completely different. The FOMO strategy behind the Aldi finds aisle. You walk into Aldi with a simple list: eggs, milk, vegetables. But then you pass the aisle running through the center of the store, the one that doesn't look like any regular grocery section, and that's where things start to drift. That area is called Aldi Finds. What makes this section powerful isn't any single product, but the sense of urgency it creates. Items here aren't permanent. Every week brings a new batch. Quantities are limited, and once something sells out, it almost never comes back. There are no sale ending soon signs and no employees pushing urgency, yet shoppers instinctively understand one thing: if you don't grab it now, it's gone. Aldi doesn't give you much time to think. An air fryer, a set of gardening tools, solar lights, yoga mats, or seasonal decor, all placed right where you'll encounter them while you're still thinking about dinner. You didn't come to Aldi for these items, but they appear precisely when your guard is down. This strategy taps into a very familiar fear of missing out. Not because the item is truly essential, but because it seems like a great deal that's about to disappear. And as the shelf starts to empty, the feeling of good thing, I grabbed one. Early only gets stronger. Aldi doesn't need long-term inventory clearance sales or deep discounts. They just need to sell out quickly. What makes this especially effective is that many Aldi finds items are genuinely decent for the price. But without awareness, this section can easily turn a budget-focused grocery run into a cart full of interesting items you don't actually need. The truth about cheap wine and beer. One area that often raises eyebrows at Aldi is the wine and beer section. The prices seem almost too low to be real. The bottles look plain, the labels unfamiliar, and many people's first reaction is skepticism about quality. Yet this is where Aldi most clearly shows how it targets real value rather than surface-level luxury. Unlike large retail chains, Aldi doesn't source alcohol through layers of distributors. They work directly with wineries, breweries, and even producers that have previously supplied high-end brands. By cutting out marketing campaigns, sales reps' premium shelf placement fees, and carefully crafted brand stories, the price drops dramatically while what's inside the bottle remains largely the same. That's why many Aldi wines have quietly won international awards despite costing a fraction of comparable bottles elsewhere. Shoppers aren't promised a luxury experience. There's no dramatic lighting or background music. The bottle simply sits there letting informed buyers decide for themselves. The same approach applies to beer. Aldi doesn't chase massive brand variety. They choose fewer options, select carefully, and move inventory quickly to keep products fresh. When an item isn't burdened by unnecessary costs, a low price no longer signals low quality. It signals an efficient system doing exactly what it was designed to do. Checkout speed and efficiency-driven design. If you've ever stood in line at Aldi, you'll notice it feels very different from a typical supermarket. There's no long waiting, no awkward pauses, and almost no time to lose focus. Everything moves so quickly that first-time shoppers sometimes feel slightly rushed. But that speed isn't accidental, it's built into the system from the ground up. Aldi cashiers aren't trained to scan items while chatting. They're trained to scan fast consistently and with no wasted motion. Every product is designed with barcodes placed in easy-to-scan positions, and many items even have multiple barcodes, so there's no need to rotate the product looking for one. Pick it up, scan it, and push it aside. The rhythm is continuous, almost never broken. The checkout layout itself is different. There's more space, shorter conveyor belts, and a large holding area after the scanner where items are pushed aside immediately. Cashiers don't stop to bag groceries. That task is shifted to customers in a separate area after checkout. At first, it may feel like you're doing more work, but in return, the entire line moves significantly faster. This design allows Aldi to operate with fewer employees per shift while still handling high customer volume. One person scanning twice as fast effectively replaces two elsewhere. Fewer staff, fewer labor hours, lower operating costs, and those savings show up directly in shelf prices. Like the video if this surprised you. Product quality through blind testing. Many people walk into Aldi with a built-in assumption low prices must mean lower quality. But what frustrates major brands the most about Aldi happens in a step shoppers rarely see: blind testing. No packaging, no logos, no brand names to create trust or a sense of luxury. Just taste, texture, and real-world performance. Before a product ever reaches the shelf, Aldi pits it directly against well-known brands on the market. Testers don't know which product is Aldi's and which belongs to a major label. If Aldi's version doesn't meet or beat the competition, it simply doesn't get sold. There are no exceptions for brand recognition and no room for emotional attachment. That's why many Aldi products look unremarkable but surprise people once they try them. This approach completely flips the traditional retail model. Instead of building a brand first and then persuading shoppers to trust it, Aldi forces the product to prove its value up front. Packaging comes last. What truly matters is the real experience, something no logo can compensate for if quality falls short. For shoppers, blind testing creates a major advantage even if it's not always obvious. You're not paying for TV ads, celebrity endorsements, or elaborate box designs. You're paying for products that have passed a strict filtering process where only quality survives. The private label strategy. One of the biggest reasons people misjudge Aldi is because they focus on product names. The packaging is simple, the brand names sound unfamiliar, and they don't trigger any advertising memories, so the brain automatically labels them as cheap. But for Aldi, private labels aren't a temporary solution. They're the backbone of the entire system. Instead of competing in the brand name race, Aldi takes a different path. It creates its own brands and controls the process end to end. The company works directly with manufacturers, sets clear standards, signs long-term contracts, and purchases in large volumes. No middlemen, no paying for premium shelf placement, no TV advertising budgets. When those costs disappear, prices naturally come down. What makes this strategy work is that Aldi doesn't try to carry everything. Each product category is limited to just a few top-selling options. Fewer items mean Aldi knows exactly what it's selling, who it's selling to, and in what quantities. As a result, private labels stay focused and receive investment where it actually matters. This approach allows Aldi to do something few other chains can sustain: long-term keep prices low without relying on constant promotions. Pricing and quality stay consistent, and shoppers gradually build the habit of coming back. Warehouse-style store design. When you walk into Aldi, it often feels like stepping into a warehouse that's been open to the public. Metal shelving, cardboard boxes with the tops cut off, and products sitting directly in their shipping cases. No decorative displays, no visual flair. But this isn't carelessness, it's intentional design. Instead of unpacking individual items and rearranging them for appearance, Aldi keeps products in their boxes. Employees simply place the box on the shelf, cut it open, and move on. Stocking time drops dramatically. Items reach the shelves faster with fewer steps and fewer errors. When each store handles thousands of units per day, saving a few seconds per box adds up quickly. Aldi's aisles are also short and straight. There's no winding path designed to force shoppers past must-see displays. You can see almost the entire store within a few steps. This allows customers to shop quickly, staff to monitor the floor easily, and restocking to happen continuously without disrupting shoppers. Products stay visible. Inventory is easier to track, and empty spots are spotted and filled faster. Fewer issues mean lower operating costs. Even the price tags reflect this mindset: simple printed signs neatly placed with no flashy digital screens. European DNA and the philosophy of frugality. The feeling of shopping at Aldi is noticeably different from most American supermarkets. The space is compact, the shelves are simple, and the selection is limited but sufficient. This isn't an accident, it comes from Aldi's deeply rooted European DNA. Aldi was born in post-war Germany, where saving wasn't a lifestyle choice but a necessity for survival. The philosophy was clear: sell only what's essential, sell enough to meet needs, and avoid waste in all forms. That mindset still defines Aldi today. The store doesn't try to be entertaining to keep customers browsing longer. It wants you to come in, buy what you need, and leave. The product layout reflects this approach. Fewer brands, fewer sizes, fewer variations. Every item must justify its place on the shelf. In many other supermarkets, you'll find dozens of nearly identical options, mustard sauces and cereals that differ only slightly. At Aldi, that kind of redundancy is seen as an unnecessary cost. Fewer choices streamline the supply chain, move products faster, and reduce food waste. European shopping habits are also clearly visible. Customers shop more frequently, buy moderate quantities, prioritize fresh items, and avoid excessive stockpiling. Packaging is more compact, and portion sizes are more practical. This subtly pulls shoppers away from the buy more to save more mindset, common in the US, and toward using what they buy instead of letting it sit unused. How Aldi adapted to the US market. When Aldi expanded into the United States, it didn't simply copy and paste its European model and expect it to work. Americans shop differently, eat differently, and have different expectations. What's notable is that Aldi didn't change its core philosophy. It adjusted how that philosophy is applied to fit local habits. US Aldi stores are larger than their European originals, with wider aisles to accommodate bigger shopping carts. The product range is expanded just enough for weekly family shopping while still maintaining clear limits. Aldi didn't turn itself into a massive supermarket, it scaled up only as much as necessary. Taste preferences were also carefully adjusted. It's still private label, still direct relationships with manufacturers, but flavors, recipes, and package sizes have been Americanized. Product lines like Simply Nature, Earth-grown and specially selected, were built to match U.S. trends: organic, plant-based, convenient, and still affordable. Another major difference is speed. American shoppers are used to moving quickly and don't want to stand around. Aldi doubled down on an ultra-efficient checkout system, minimal staff, high throughput. No membership cards, no complicated coupons, and no loyalty programs to track. Everyday low prices, easy to understand, easy to buy. Aldi also learned how to communicate with American shoppers without loud advertising. Instead of pushing promotions, it lets customers discover good deals on their own and share them organically. Word of mouth is far more powerful than billboards. People come back because they feel they're getting good products at fair prices, not because they were pressured into it. Small store footprint and a streamlined assortment. One of Aldi's most noticeable differences is the feeling that everything is just enough. Stores aren't overly large, and you don't have to walk half a mile just to grab one forgotten item. With only a few straight aisles, and you can take in almost the entire store at a glance. This smaller footprint isn't because Aldi can't build bigger, it's a deliberate choice. A smaller store saves Aldi significant costs: rent, utilities, maintenance, and especially labor. Less space means fewer employees, fewer hours, and lower risk of loss. But more importantly, it changes how shoppers move through the store and make decisions. Aldi's product selection is also intentionally minimized. Instead of offering a dozen ketchup brands or countless milk options, it keeps only a few top sellers. Fewer choices may sound limiting, but in practice, it reduces decision fatigue. At Aldi, every product has to earn its place on the shelf. If something sells slowly, overlaps too much with another item, or doesn't meet quality standards, it disappears. The result is faster inventory turnover, less overstock, and fresher products. You don't see shelves packed with dozens of nearly identical items. Shopping at Aldi feels like walking into a store that's already done the filtering for you. No chasing sales, no overthinking. Everything is arranged so you can grab what you need and leave efficient, fast, and with less waste. Aldi isn't cheap because of luck or because it cuts corners on quality. Its low prices come from a series of deliberate system-level choices: small stores, streamlined assortments, private labels, warehouse-style design, fast checkouts, and carefully engineered shopping behavior. Once you understand how Aldi operates, you stop shopping based on the feeling of, "that looks cheap," and start knowing exactly where to take advantage and where to be cautious. The real value isn't in individual items, but in your ability to control your shopping cart. What surprised you most in this video? You can walk into Aldi in 2026 planning to buy nothing more than milk and eggs, but walk out with a food item. Social media is obsessed with restaurants are quietly using, and people are willing to come back for a third time in the same week just to track down. This is no longer the Aldi of cheap food you grab and move on. Aldi is quietly doing something very different, using a small number of powerful products to completely change how people think about low-priced food. What really matters isn't which items are trending, but why they are, from the recipes and ingredients to the supply chain, at a time when everyone wants food that tastes better and feels cleaner without paying restaurant prices. If you've ever believed frozen food was just filler, healthy snacks were bland, or discount supermarkets couldn't set trends, this list will make you rethink the way you buy food altogether. You'd be awesome if you liked this video. One whole dipped freeze-dried strawberries. Southern Grove whole freeze-dried strawberries dipped in yogurt. Arrive at exactly the moment when 2026 consumers are burnt out on snacks that taste good but come with guilt. This isn't the kind of snack you finish and immediately regret. It's the kind that leaves you feeling like you made the right choice. The difference starts with the process. The strawberries are harvested at peak ripeness, then freeze-dried to preserve nearly all their vitamins, minerals, and natural flavor. Thanks to their airy structure, the berries are lightly crisp and melt quickly, without the chewiness or sharp sweetness common in traditional dried fruit. The first impression is unmistakably real fruit. What surprises most people is the coating. The cocoa yogurt layer is applied with precision enough to add contrast, but never enough to overpower the fruit. The first bite feels unexpected. The next makes it memorable. This is a genuinely new product, not a familiar snack dressed up in a different way. That's why it isn't just eaten straight from the bag. Many shoppers use it as a topping for acai bowls, overnight oats, or Greek yogurt, turning a single snack into an easy upgrade for everyday meals. At $5.49 at Aldi, this is the kind of product that feels worth it on the first try and different enough that people actively look for it again on future trips. 2 specially selected high-protein Belgian waffles. This is one of the rare protein waffles that makes people forget they're eating a protein product the moment they finish it. You may not realize it, but Aldi's specially selected high-protein Belgian waffles are quietly breaking the biggest myth about healthy breakfast that taste and fullness have to be a trade-off. On the outside, they look just like bakery-style Belgian waffles, golden surface-defined pockets, and an aroma that hits as soon as they go into the toaster. It's only when you check the label that it stops you for a second. 15 grams of protein per waffle. Most protein waffles on the market come with a familiar downside. They feel more like a supplement than real food. Dry, crumbly, powdery, and often needing heavy syrup or strong toppings just to be enjoyable. Aldi took the opposite approach. They started with the eating experience, true Belgian-style texture, light and airy, and then added protein instead of sacrificing texture, just to hit a number. The key is in the formula. Aldi partnered with a European manufacturer using a blend of whey protein, isolate, and pea protein in proportions that preserve the batter's structure. As a result, the waffles toast up lightly crisp on the outside and soft on the inside without gumminess, without crumbling, and most importantly, without that familiar gym protein smell. What makes this product take off isn't just the protein content, but the way it normalizes healthy food. You can eat it like any regular breakfast, top it with fruit spread, peanut butter drizzle syrup, or eat it plain when you're short on time. It doesn't force you into a diet or ask you to change your habits. It simply upgrades a familiar breakfast into something better. At around $3.99 per box, these waffles sell out. Fast often come with purchase limits and have become an item many shoppers return to Aldi specifically to hunt down. This isn't a protein waffle for the gym crowd. This is the new breakfast for busy people in 2026, satisfying, filling, and without sacrificing the joy of eating. 3 Emporium Selection Truffle Cheddar. This is the kind of cheese that makes you pause mid-bite, because something feels familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. It's still cheddar-rich, creamy, properly salted, but there's a deeper, slower note underneath, spreading gradually, instead of hitting hard like the sharp punch of typical truffle oil. The difference lies in how it's made. Most truffle cheeses on the market are simply regular cheddar, or jack, with truffle oil added on the surface. The aroma is strong, but after a few bites it becomes heavy and the artificial feel shows quickly. With Emporium Selection. Truffle cheddar, real truffle, is mixed directly into the curds from the beginning, allowing the flavor to live inside the cheese, rather than sit on top for effect. The result is a well-aged cheddar with a firm texture sliced open to reveal small, evenly distributed truffle flecks. When you eat it, the cheese comes first, rich, gently salty, slightly sweet from the milk, and only then does the truffle emerge earthy, umami-driven, and restrained. It doesn't overpower, it lingers. This is a cheese that rewards slow eating, with layers becoming clearer the longer you chew. That restraint is exactly what makes it addictive. You can grate it over pasta, slice it with bread, or eat it on its own, and it works every time. Many home cooks realize they don't need elaborate sauces at all. This cheese alone adds enough depth to carry a dish, at a price that's only a fraction of truffle cheeses sold at specialty shops. Emporium Selection. Truffle cheddar is a textbook example of Aldi's philosophy, not selling luxury through imagery, but through real quality built into the product itself. 4 Park Street Deli Buffalo Chicken Dip. This is one of the very few store-bought dips that people take home and immediately think this doesn't feel like supermarket food. As soon as Park Street Deli Buffalo Chicken Dip showed up in Aldi's refrigerated section, it quickly became one of the most searched for items, not because of flashy packaging or hype, but because it eats more like something you'd order at a restaurant than something you microwave and serve. If you've ever assumed all buffalo dips are the same, heavy on mayo, aggressively spicy, and tiring after a few scoops, this one goes in the opposite direction. It's made with real rotisserie chicken, shredded and blended with cream cheese, buffalo sauce, ranch seasoning, and multiple cheeses to create a smooth, cohesive texture that doesn't separate when heated. Warm it up and it melts evenly. Scoop it out, and you can still see distinct strands of chicken. It's not mushy, not dry, and not greasy. What really works here is balance. The heat is present but never harsh, and the richness is controlled enough that you can keep eating without feeling overwhelmed. This isn't a dip you power through in a few bites and set aside. It stays enjoyable even when eaten slowly. It works with tortilla chips, celery roasted potatoes, or even as a topping for a quick dinner. This is a dip people actually use as part of a meal, not something placed on the table just to fill space. At around $3.99 Park Street, Deli Buffalo Chicken Dip quickly earned a spot among Aldi's new punches above its price items. It isn't the cheapest option in the case, but it's very hard to find something with comparable quality texture and overall eating experience at this price point. That's why many shoppers come back not to try it out again, but specifically to repurchase the same dip. This is also how Aldi is approaching new products more broadly. No luxury imagery, no long backstory, just food that's good enough for shoppers to recognize the difference the moment they take a bite. Like the video if this one surprised you. Cinque Barissimo Cold Brew Concentrate Pods. This is a product line that's making a lot of people rethink how they prepare cold brew every morning. Overnight cold brewing was once considered the gold standard for a smooth, low-acid cup. But as cold brew has shifted from a weekend treat to an everyday drink, that method has started to feel impractical. That gap is exactly where Barissimo Cold Brew Concentrate Pods come in. Instead of pre-bottled cold brew that often tastes diluted or bulky brewing setups that require careful timing, Aldi took a different approach. Fast brewing concentrate pods. Each pod contains ultra-finely ground coffee sealed in a filter pouch. Drop it into a jar, add cold water, give it a light shake, and wait about 10 minutes. The result is a cold brew that's bold, smooth, low in acidity, not harshly bitter, and requires no additional filtering. The Barissimo Cold Brew Concentrate Pods launch with 4 clearly defined options designed for different preferences. Colombian offers a balanced, easy-drinking profile for everyday use. Ethiopian is brighter and more aromatic, ideal for those who prefer their cold brew black. Vanilla sweet cream is softer and rounder, well-suited for mixing with milk. Chocolate caramel is richer and leans toward a dessert-like profile without becoming overly sweet. Each box contains 8 pods and is priced at just under $5. One pod makes about 16 ounces of concentrate, which can be diluted into 2 to 3 drinks depending on how you prepare it. Compared with buying cold brew at cafes or purchasing bottled concentrates from supermarket shelves, this approach is more affordable without sacrificing the drinking experience. 6 Pit Smoked Beef Brisket Pizza. This product marks Aldi's next step in blending classic American food trends with the convenience of frozen meals. It's not just another pizza, it's a true fusion of barbecue culture and Italian-inspired comfort food. The difference starts with the base. Instead of traditional tomato sauce, this pizza uses a pimento cheddar cheese sauce, rich, gently salty, and designed to support the smoked beef brisket rather than compete with it. The brisket is slow-smoked before being added to the pizza with clearly defined strands of meat that don't fall apart and don't develop that typical frozen food smell once baked. Caramelized onions and red bell peppers round things out, adding natural sweetness to balance the richness of the cheese and meat. What makes this pizza stand out isn't piling on toppings, but intentional flavor pairing. The brisket isn't there for decoration. It's the centerpiece, delivering a distinct smoky aroma, usually associated with weekend BBQ joints. When baked properly, the edges of the meat lightly char the cheese bubbles gently, and the crust stays crisp long enough to slice and eat cleanly. Priced from $5.99, Mama Kazi's delivers a frozen dinner experience that goes beyond expectations. This is the kind of pizza that works for busy weeknights when you still want something different, or when your household is tired of the usual pepperoni and cheese rotation. There's no prep, no takeout order yet. The eating experience feels closer to a scaled-down BBQ meal than a just-eat-and-move-on frozen pizza. This product taps directly into a growing trend upgrading frozen food. Shoppers have even started sharing baking tips to get a crispier crust and juicier meat, something rarely seen with mass-market frozen pizzas. 7 Specially Selected French Butter Croissants. Something unusual is happening at Aldi's bakery section. People are no longer buying bread as an afterthought. They're going to Aldi specifically for the baked goods. Not packaged pastries, not reheated items, but croissants baked in-store still warm when slipped into a paper bag. Specially selected French butter croissants don't arrive with much fanfare. They sit behind the bakery counter, but the butter aroma spreads quickly. These croissants are baked directly in the store, not frozen items put out for display. Each morning, staff start early baking batch after batch to keep fresh trays coming out during peak hours. The biggest difference is the butter. Not margarine, not blended fats, but French-style butter, the kind that creates a thin, crisp exterior that gives a soft crackle when broken, with clearly defined layers inside that are tender and aromatic. This is the kind of croissant that doesn't need jam or extra spreads. Eating it plain is more than enough. At $1.49 per croissant, many shoppers pause and reconsider their expectations. At this price point, most bakeries outside would offer an industrial croissant reheated for warmth. Aldi's version feels like a real bakery product eaten hot. Eaten immediately, and eaten because it's genuinely good, not just because it's cheap. What's especially interesting is how this product has drawn in a completely new group of customers. People who previously paid little attention to discount supermarkets. When a croissant is good enough to be compared with local French bakeries, the idea that Aldi food is only good for the price starts to fall apart. 8. Specially selected marinara sauce. For years, jarred marinara has been associated with overly sweet flavors, sharp acidity, and long ingredient lists. But in 2026, one budget-friendly jar is making people rethink how they choose pasta sauce. Aldi's specially selected marinara sauce doesn't try to impress with flashy packaging or heavy marketing. Its strength lies in a stripped-down approach. San Marzano tomatoes, extra virgin olive oil, onion, garlic, basil, sea salt, and black pepper. No added sugar, no citric acid, no flavor adjusters are used to mask poor quality tomatoes. Twist the lid, and you get the aroma of naturally ripe tomatoes, rich and clean, without that harsh acidic bite. Once heated, the sauce thickens just enough to cling well to pasta without feeling heavy. The sweetness comes from ripe tomatoes, while the gentle acidity provides a solid base for meat, cheese, or seafood rather than overpowering them. It's the kind of marinara you can use across the board, toss with pasta, on a busy weeknight spread as a pizza base, or pour straight over meatballs without needing to tweak the seasoning. Priced well below many premium jars on the shelf. Specially selected doesn't ask you to trade flavor for savings. Instead, it raises a simple question. If a cheaper sauce can still deliver clean ingredients and balanced flavor, why pay extra just for the comfort of a familiar brand names? Nova Loven Fresh Sourdough Batard. Aldi's Loven. Fresh sourdough batard doesn't follow the usual industrial bread formula. From the outside, the loaf has a deep golden brown crust with natural cracking and no oily shine. Slice it open, and you'll see uneven air pockets, a sign of real fermentation rather than fast-risen dough. The aroma carries the mild tang of true sourdough, balanced and never overpowering the wheat. What makes this bread stand out is how Aldi handles the process. The loaf is par-baked first, then finished in-store. This method preserves the structure and flavor of traditional sourdough, while ensuring the bread still has life when it hits the shelf, a crisp crust when reheated with a soft, gently chewy interior that avoids the dry, crumbly texture common in fully packaged breads. On the plate, the Loven Fresh Sourdough Batard feels spot on. The crust is crisp without being tooth-breaking. The crumb has just enough chew to hold butter, cheese, or soup without turning soggy. It's a loaf you can eat plain with salted butter, pair with eggs in the morning, or slice thick for sandwiches without being overshadowed by the fillings. At around $2.89, the price alone challenges assumptions. For that amount at an artisan bakery, you'd usually get a small loaf or even just a slice. The Loven Fresh Sourdough Batard delivers an experience close to real bakery bread while still being convenient enough to serve as an everyday staple. 10. Belmont Bourbon Butter Pecan Ice Cream. Some desserts reveal right away whether they were made just to exist or made to be remembered. With butter pecan ice cream, that line usually comes down to two things: real butter and the richness of the cream base. And it's precisely in these two areas that a budget-priced product is making people stop and think. Belmont Bourbon Butter Pecan ice cream appears in Aldi's seasonal ice cream lineup, but the experience doesn't feel seasonal at all. This isn't the bland butter pecan made with dry pecans and artificial butter flavoring. From the very first spoonful, Real bourbon comes through, clearly not harsh or boozy, but warm and deep, more like the lingering finish of a light after-dinner drink. The biggest difference lies in how the pecans are treated. They're roasted with butter and brown sugar, forming a thin, caramelized coating that's fragrant and lightly crisp. When folded into the high-fat custard base, the pecans don't disappear or crumble, they keep their structure and distinct flavor. The ice cream itself is dense and smooth, not airy or fluffy like cheaper industrial ice creams, delivering a texture much closer to premium brands. The bourbon here isn't just a flavor accent. It adds depth to the butter notes, softens the sweetness, and gives the overall profile a more mature balance. This is ice cream meant to be eaten slowly after a meal, not something you grab just to cool off. That's why so many people do a double take when they see the price $4.99 per pint. A range usually associated with basic ice cream, not one with this level of structure and complexity. Look at these hot items for what they really are, and you'll see this isn't a trend-chasing list. These 10 products reflect how consumers are eating and choosing food in 2026, fewer compromises, more awareness, but still a desire for flavor and enjoyment. From bread and sauce to ice cream, pizza, and snacks, the common thread is accessibility and price with a noticeably elevated experience. That's why these items don't just sell well for a moment, they have the staying power to become new staples in Aldi shoppers' carts. Which new food in the video surprised you the most? Most people think Aldi's bakery section is simply a place to grab cheap bread, convenient, affordable, and good enough to get you through a meal. But that's only the surface. Behind that compact bakery area is a carefully designed system of sales strategy, product placement, and rapid rotation that, if you don't pay attention, can lead you to buy the wrong item, buy at the wrong time, or miss some of the best baked goods Aldi has ever sold. There are baked items that aren't even located in the bakery section. Products that disappear permanently after just a few weeks, specific windows when the bread is noticeably better that very few people know about. And items that look completely ordinary but are actually made by some of the largest bakery producers in the United States. These are 12 secrets about Aldi's bakery. You'll wish you knew sooner, so that every grocery trip isn't just about buying cheap, but about buying right and not regretting it when you come back and your favorite item is gone. You'd be awesome if you liked this video. One where Aldi's bakery products really come from. When shoppers look at Aldi's bakery section, many assume it's all private label, mass-produced, low-cost bread. But if you trace the supply chain backward, the reality looks very different. A large portion of Aldi's private label bread, bagels, and sandwich loaves aren't made in anonymous bakeries. They are directly linked to Bimbo Bakeries USA, the largest bakery company in the country. Bimbo is the producer behind well-known brands like Thomas's Sara Lee and Entenmann's names many American households buy week after week. Aldi, using the same production network, doesn't mean their bread is identical to national brands, but it does indicate that the industrial standards, processes, and production capacity are well established and proven. Aldi doesn't need to build its own bakeries. Instead, it places custom orders, trims, marketing, packaging, and middlemen, and uses that efficiency to push prices down. What's notable is that Aldi doesn't actively promote this connection. Most shoppers only discover it during product recalls when manufacturers are legally required to disclose it. From a consumer news perspective, this detail matters. Aldi's bread is cheaper, not because the quality is low, but because the system is optimized and backed by strong negotiating power. When you buy Aldi's private label bread, you're paying for the product itself, not for brand prestige, advertising, or premium shelf placement. 2 exclusive bakery items and the risk of sudden discontinuation. One detail many shoppers overlook is that Aldi's entire bakery section operates almost entirely on an exclusive model. The loaves, bagels, and pastries you see aren't designed for broad national distribution. They're made specifically for Aldi, tied to its private label strategy, and exist only as long as Aldi chooses to carry them. That sounds harmless until you run into a familiar situation. You try a bakery item, really like it, come back the next week to buy more, and it's gone. Not temporarily out of stock, permanently discontinued. At Aldi, underperforming sales, rising logistics costs, or simply making room for a new product can all trigger a bakery item being pulled without warning. The risk here isn't quality, it's the extremely short product life cycle. Aldi doesn't keep items around just because they sell well enough. The focus is on fast rotation testing, customer response, and making decisive cuts. This helps Aldi keep prices low and shelves lean. But for shoppers, it creates a clear reality the bread you love today may be the last time you ever see it. 3. Aldi's bakery markdown strategy before expiration. One of the most effective ways to genuinely save money in Aldi's bakery isn't found in the regular shelf price, but in how the store handles bread that's approaching its expiration date. Aldi doesn't advertise these discounts loudly or hang large signs, but if you pay close attention, you'll often spot bakery items suddenly marked down by 50% simply because they're a few days from their sell-by date. The challenge is that there's no fixed markdown schedule. Some stores reduce prices 4 to 5 days ahead, others only 1 or 2 days before expiration. Aldi gives individual stores flexibility based on sales pace and inventory levels. That means, if you shop at Aldi regularly and take the time to observe, you'll quickly start to read the rhythm of your local store. Once you understand the pattern, buying good bread at half price becomes routine. Of course, this strategy comes with risk. Waiting for a markdown means the item may sell out before you return. Aldi doesn't hold inventory for anyone, and popular bakery items disappear fast. Some shoppers even ask staff whether a certain bread nearing expiration might be discounted early. It doesn't always work, but sometimes asking at the right moment makes a difference. What matters is understanding the intent Aldi discounts to clear shelves, not to push extra sales. For alert shoppers, this is a chance to buy at true value. As long as you check expiration dates and choose items you can eat right away or freeze, you can enjoy good bread while cutting costs significantly without sacrificing quality. 4. Aldi's best bakery items are often out of place. One very common mistake when shopping at Aldi is assuming that all the best baked goods are neatly grouped in the bakery section. In reality, many of the most frequently repurchased bakery items are deliberately placed elsewhere, scattered across different aisles from the breakfast section and seasonal end caps to shelves near the freezer area or secondary walkways. If you only scan the bake shop and skip the rest of the store, there's a good chance you've walked right past some of Aldi's best value baked goods without realizing it. This isn't a display error. It's intentional. Aldi optimizes both floor space and shopper flow. Breakfast breads sit near cereal. Sliced brioche or seasonal packaged pastries are moved to eye-catching end caps. Certain specialty loaves are placed next to brunch items to encourage pairing. This layout pushes shoppers to explore actively rather than shop on autopilot. The result is two very different types of customers. Those who follow the same path every time often conclude that Aldi doesn't have great bakery items. Those who pay attention to placement, on the other hand, consistently pick up standout products they wouldn't normally associate with the bakery. The difference in experience comes from seeing the store as a system, not as isolated sections. Like the video if this surprised you. 5. The best time to buy bread: Wednesday morning. If there's one small habit change that makes a real difference when shopping at Aldi, it's choosing the right day and time. For the bakery section, Wednesday morning is almost a golden window that many shoppers completely miss. This isn't random. It's when Aldi resets its shelves across the store. Wednesday marks the start of Aldi's new sales cycle. Fresh bread is restocked. Many items have just come out of the oven or arrived from delivery, while products from the previous week begin approaching their sell-by dates, meaning you'll see both the freshest bread and items that are about to be discounted at the same time. Going early on Wednesday morning gives you the clearest snapshot of the bakery, what's newly restocked, and what's likely to get a markdown sticker soon. This is also when the new weekly ad goes into effect, often lowering prices on complimentary items like butter jam syrup and brunch staples. For strategic shoppers, this creates a full-circle opportunity: fresh bread to eat right away, near-expiration bread to freeze, and add-ons at better-than-usual prices. By contrast, shopping on the weekend usually means you're left with what's already been picked over. The best bread is gone, the deep markdowns have disappeared, and the selection is noticeably thinner. 6. Love and Fresh private label bread and real-world quality. When shoppers see the Love and Fresh label, many still fall back on a familiar assumption: private label bread must be just good enough. At Aldi, however, Love and Fresh isn't designed as a cheap filler brand. It's the backbone of the bakery section. Aldi tightly controls the recipes, sizes, and pricing to maintain consistent standards from batch to batch. The most noticeable difference is texture and consistency, from sandwich bread and bagels to sweet rolls. Love and Fresh rarely delivers the experience of this loaf is good that one is dry. For regular buyers, that repeatable consistency buying again and getting the same result is the real value. Aldi cuts spending on advertising fancy packaging and brand premiums, but doesn't sacrifice the basic eating experience. Another reason Love and Fresh earns strong reviews is practicality. The bread isn't so soft that it falls apart, and it isn't so dense that it dries out quickly. That balance makes it versatile, good for eating right away, toasting, making sandwiches, or short-term freezing. Many items are even directly compared by shoppers to name brands, often with surprising results, clearly lower prices with quality that holds its own. 7. Why Aldi bread disappears so quickly. Many shoppers have experienced the same frustrating moment at Aldi. You find a bread you really like at a good price plan to buy it again next time, and just 1 week later it's gone. Not temporarily out of stock, but completely gone. This isn't accidental. It's a direct result of how Aldi runs its bakery. Aldi doesn't manage its bakery with a keep-it-safe long-term mindset. Fast rotation is the priority. Every new product that hits the shelf is treated as a test. If it sells quickly, it stays. If sales slow, it's pulled. There's no long trial period to let shoppers gradually warm up to a product. For Aldi, shelf space has to perform immediately, otherwise it's replaced. The private label exclusivity adds another layer. Most Aldi bakery items exist only within Aldi's system, with no alternative retailers. When a product is discontinued, it isn't slowly phased out or transferred elsewhere. Like at traditional supermarkets, it ends decisively. This helps Aldi keep shelves lean, reduce inventory risk and control costs, but it creates that familiar sense of disappearance for shoppers. There's also a quieter factor at play: intentional scarcity. When items vanish quickly, shoppers pay more attention, make faster decisions, and return more often just to see what's new. 8. In-house bakery models at select Aldi locations. Not all Aldi stores are the same, and one of the biggest differences comes down to whether they operate an in-house bakery. At certain locations, Aldi doesn't just receive bread from regional bakeries, they bake it directly in the store. The easiest signs are a bake shop with glass walls, the smell of fresh bread coming from behind the counter, and shelves being replenished throughout the day. This model isn't rolled out everywhere. Aldi treats in-house baking as a selective test reserved for stores with high foot traffic, suitable space, and clear demand. For shoppers, the experience at these locations is noticeably different. The bread is softer, more aromatic, and has a much stronger sense of being truly fresh compared with items delivered from off-site bakeries. That said, in-house bakeries come with a reality shoppers need to understand. Production volumes are limited. Sales are concentrated in specific windows during the day, and items often sell out quickly. Aldi doesn't overbake just to keep shelves looking full. If you shop later in the day, you may find mostly empty trays or only less popular items left. This leads some customers to assume the store has very little bread, when in fact the best items sold out earlier. So if you happen to live near an Aldi with an in-house bakery, your shopping habits may need to adjust. Go early, pay attention to when fresh batches come out, and don't expect every variety to be available every day. 9. Bakery options for dietary needs. Most people don't think of dietary-specific products when they approach Aldi's bakery, but this is actually an area where Aldi performs surprisingly well. Instead of offering a token option or two, Aldi has built dedicated lines for gluten-free and keto shoppers, and importantly, these products aren't pushed off into a corner just to check a box. With gluten-free bread, Aldi focuses on recreating the eating experience of regular bread as closely as possible. The texture isn't overly crumbly, it isn't dry, and it has enough structure for sandwiches or reheating. That may sound basic, but for anyone who's eaten gluten-free for years, it's a meaningful difference. Many dietary brands fail because their bread falls apart or only works for one specific use. Aldi avoids this by prioritizing structure over buzzwords like healthy. As for keto bread, what brings people back isn't that it tastes exactly like regular bread, it's that it fits easily into everyday routines. The slices are thin, the flavor is neutral, and there's no overpowering artificial aftertaste. It works for breakfast, savory sandwiches, or simple meals. Just as important, Aldi's keto bread is significantly cheaper than specialty keto brands sold at health food stores. Of course, not every Aldi carries the full range of dietary breads year-round. These items still rotate based on region and demand. But if you follow a specific diet and have been skipping Aldi's bakery because you assumed there's nothing there for me, chances are you've been underestimating it. 10 standout specialty bakery items. What truly drives the appeal of Aldi's bakery are the items that sound unusual at first and then make sense the moment you taste them. A standout example is the 7-Up cake. It may sound like a gimmick, but it's actually a long-standing Southern recipe. The soda replaces traditional leavening, creating a cake that's dense, moist, lightly citrusy, and finished with a sweetness that's very different from standard pound cake. Then there are the brioche bagels and French toast bagels, items that completely change how many shoppers think about supermarket bagels. Instead of being dry and dense, these are softer, richer with butter, and sturdy enough to toast without drying out. Brioche bagels pair naturally with cream cheese, while French toast bagels shine with bacon and eggs, or as a sweet breakfast option. The common thread across Aldi's standout bakery items is that they don't rely on flashy presentation. Packaging is simple, placement is understated, but the eating experience consistently exceeds expectations for the price. 11 seasonal bakery items and ready-to-eat brunch foods. Part of what keeps Aldi's bakery feeling constantly fresh is its rotating selection of seasonal baked goods and ready-to-eat brunch items. Aldi doesn't try to lock its bakery menu in year-round. Instead, it lets the season's lead items appear when the timing is right and disappear just as decisively when the season ends. This rotation creates the feeling that every Aldi visit comes with the question, "What's different today?" During peak seasons, more grab-and-eat baked goods show up. Donuts, loaf cakes, cinnamon rolls, and pies are designed to be warmed and eaten with minimal effort. For busy shoppers, this is a major advantage. You still get the feeling of a complete breakfast or brunch without cooking at home or paying cafe prices. What works especially well is that Aldi doesn't dress these items up as luxury products. Packaging is simple, portions are reasonable, and placement makes them easy to grab. A quick Aldi stop for baked goods plus some fruit, bacon, or syrup can turn into a clean, no-fuss brunch for the whole family. The low price point makes weekend treats feel casual rather than indulgent. The trade-off, of course, is familiar. If you show up late, the items are gone. Aldi doesn't stretch seasonal runs to meet lingering demand. When the season ends, the products disappear, even if they were selling extremely well. For shoppers who understand this system, the rule is simple: if a seasonal bakery item fits your taste, buy it early and buy enough. 12 low-cost copycat bakery items that replace big brands. One reason Aldi's bakery builds such strong loyalty is its lineup of copycat products, items that look familiar, taste familiar, but cost noticeably less than major national brands. These aren't low-quality knockoffs. They're simplified versions that deliver the core experience at a lower cost. Aldi's approach is straightforward. Instead of trying to outshine the original brand with storytelling or flashy branding, they focus on the fundamentals of eating. Take sweet rolls, brioche or sandwich bread. Soft texture, balanced sweetness, and versatility for both breakfast and snacks. For regular shoppers, the most important test is simple: it doesn't feel like you're missing anything. That's exactly the target. The real difference shows up over time. When a copycat product costs a few dollars less, the gap isn't just about money, it reduces friction. Shoppers decide faster, buy more consistently, and don't second-guess each grocery trip. Over time, the big brand quietly loses its place in the cart, not because it tastes worse, but because it no longer makes sense at the price. Of course, not every Aldi copycat bakery item is perfect, but in the bakery category where convenience and repeatability matter most, these lower-priced versions often perform extremely well. Once shoppers get used to reliable quality at an easy price, many realize there's little reason to return to name brands unless there's a deep promotion. That's how Aldi quietly reshapes consumer choices. Aldi's bakery isn't just a place to buy cheap bread. It's a fast-moving system designed to test, rotate, and cut products quickly. Understanding production sources, private labels, markdown patterns, product placement, and timing helps you buy in the right place at the right moment with far less regret. Instead of shopping out of habit, informed shoppers learn to read Aldi's operating rhythm, and in doing so, eat better, spend smarter, and avoid being caught off guard when items disappear. Which secret in the video surprised you the most? If you've ever walked into Aldi thinking, "It's cheap, I'll just grab whatever," chances are you missed out on real savings. Aldi doesn't operate like a traditional supermarket, and that difference is exactly why many shoppers end up buying the wrong things, buying too much, or overlooking the items that offer the best value. This video doesn't cover the tips everyone already knows. Instead, it breaks down how Aldi is designed to help you shop faster, buy less, and buy smarter. Watch until the end, and you'll know when Aldi truly is a savings paradise, and when it can actually cost you more than you expect. You'd be awesome if you liked this video. One, the most effective time to shop. The most effective time to shop at Aldi isn't about going early or late. It's about going on the right day, in sync with how the store operates. Many people assume Aldi is always cheap, so it doesn't matter when you stop by. In reality, the same item can feel completely different depending on whether you walk in a few hours earlier or later. A key moment is midweek, when shelves are restocked. This is when weekly items are most fully available, from seasonal foods to household goods and short-term promotions. Shopping on the right day gives you a full selection, instead of being stuck with leftover items or the wrong sizes. For limited-run products, being even one day late can mean there's nothing left to buy. Within the day, mornings are usually the most comfortable time to shop. The store feels more open, shelves are tidy, and products are well stocked. This doesn't just make shopping faster, it helps you make calmer, more rational decisions without getting swept up by the crowd. When the store is busy, the "everyone else is grabbing it, so I should too" mindset kicks in easily, especially with items that look cheap. On the other hand, the end of the day works better for a different kind of shopper. Some fresh items, baked goods, and short shelf-life foods are often cleared out to make room for the next day. If you're flexible and plan to use things right away, this can be a smart way to optimize spending without buying in bulk. 2. Understanding price and portion size the right way. Understanding price and portion size at Aldi is what determines whether you're truly saving money, or just feeling like you are. A low sticker price can be very convincing, but if you don't look closely at portions and units, it's easy to grab items that are cheap on the shelf but expensive in real use. The first rule is to compare by unit, not by instinct. Aldi's packaging is usually minimal and compact, which makes many people assume the quantity is comparable to big box supermarkets. In reality, a difference of just a few ounces or a couple of servings can significantly raise the cost per meal. Once you get used to checking price per ounce, per pound, or per serving, your spending picture becomes much clearer. Portion size is also directly tied to how often you need to shop. A cheap item that only lasts one meal forces you to come back sooner. Meanwhile, a slightly more expensive option that covers multiple meals can reduce shopping trips and extra costs. At Aldi, savings often come from choosing the right size for your routine, not from picking the cheapest item available. One commonly overlooked factor is value after opening. With fresh food and convenience items, a portion that's too large for your needs quickly turns into waste. On the flip side, portions that are too small push you into repeat purchases. Balancing these two matters more than trying to pay the absolute lowest price every time. Finally, pay attention to how Aldi structures its pricing. The store encourages fast decisions, limited choices, and minimal in-store comparison. That means the comparison habit has to come from you. 3. Meat and the Never Any label. Meat and the Never Any label are one of the reasons many shoppers keep coming back to Aldi, but they're also easy to misunderstand if you only glance at the label. The words "never any" sound reassuring, but their real value depends on how you understand and use them, not on the instant sense of peace they provide. Never Any focuses on 3 things shoppers care about most: no antibiotics, no added growth hormones, and no steroids. This helps reduce concerns about how the animals are raised, especially for everyday family meals. However, this label doesn't turn every cut of meat into a premium product. Instead, it sets a clear, accessible safety standard. What you need to look at closely is the cut and how you plan to cook it. Some Never Any cuts are great for quick meals and simple weekday cooking. Others require the right preparation to achieve the tenderness and flavor you expect. If you buy based only on the label without thinking about the cooking method, the result may fall short of expectations. Another advantage is consistency. Aldi's Never Any Meat Tea. High war price. Meat tends to be fairly uniform in quality, which makes meal planning easier and helps keep spending predictable. You're not paying extra for features you don't need if your goal is clean, nutritious food that fits your budget. That said, to get the most value, pay attention to portion size and how often you use it. Choosing the right amount for a few meals helps ensure the meat is used while still fresh and reduces waste. At Aldi, the Never Any label works best when you see it as a reliable standard for everyday meals, not as a promise of a special dining experience. 4. Checkout process and self-bagging. The checkout and self-bagging process at Aldi often catches first-time shoppers off guard, but it's also a key reason the store can keep prices low over the long term. Aldi doesn't hide this. They design everything for fast checkout, quick exits, and minimal excess labor. At the register, cashiers scan items extremely quickly, with almost no pauses. They don't stop to ask whether you need bags, and they don't organize your items for you. Everything is pushed straight to the packing area beyond the register. For new shoppers, this can feel stressful, but in reality it reduces wait times and keeps the entire store moving smoothly. Self-bagging isn't a lack of service, it's a deliberate choice. Aldi cuts this step to lower operating costs, which helps keep shelf prices down. Once you're used to it, many people find it more convenient. You can pack things the way you want, avoid heavy items crushing lighter ones, and skip having to reorganize everything again at home. Preparation makes a big difference. If you bring your own bags or boxes or already have a clear packing plan, the whole process goes quickly and smoothly. If you're scrambling to find bags after paying, the experience can feel unnecessarily chaotic and tense. This system also directly affects shopping behavior. Because there's little standing and waiting, shoppers are less likely to fall into the "I'm already at checkout, I might as well grab a few more things" mindset. That naturally reduces impulse purchases, especially small items that weren't on the original list. Like the video if this surprised you. 5. The Special Buys section. The Special Buys section is where your entire shopping plan can change, even if you shop at Aldi regularly. You don't really need to psych yourself up before entering this area because it's designed to spark curiosity. New items every week, limited quantities, and that constant, "I'll just walk by and take a look" feeling that rarely stops there. What sets Aldi finds apart from other sections is their short-term nature. Products don't stay on the shelves long enough for you to come back and think about them. That creates a subtle but constant psychological pressure. If you don't buy it now, you may never see it again. For many shoppers, that feeling is stronger than actual need. A lot of Aldi finds look perfectly reasonable in the store. They solve a specific problem, fit a particular season, or present a really clever idea. But once you bring them home, their real usefulness depends entirely on your daily routine. If that situation doesn't come up often enough, the item quickly ends up in the save it for later corner. One important thing to recognize is that Aldi finds are not meant for impulse buying. Because the selection changes constantly, you rarely have time to compare or come back to reconsider. That means shoppers have to bring their own filter. Instead of asking whether an item is cool or interesting, ask whether you've actually needed it in your recent day-to-day life. When Aldi finds line up with real needs, the value is obvious. Seasonal items for the coming weeks, replacements for worn-out essentials, or special foods for a specific occasion often get fully used and feel satisfying. The issue isn't the product itself, it's the timing and the purpose behind the purchase. 6. Diet and health-focused products. Diet and health-focused products at Aldi often feel very easy to trust. Clean packaging, clear messaging, and labels centered on being good for you. But the real value of this category isn't about following the latest diet trend. It's about whether these products actually fit into your everyday routine. One noticeable feature is that Aldi intentionally simplifies choice. There are fewer options and fewer flavors compared to large supermarkets, but that makes decisions easier. For shoppers managing specific diets, avoiding gluten, cutting back on sugar, or prioritizing plant-based foods, this streamlined setup helps you shop faster and stay focused. You don't have to read dozens of labels just to find the least bad option. That said, healthy doesn't mean a universal replacement. Many products are designed to serve very specific goals: low-carb, gluten-free, and high-protein. If those goals don't align with your body or eating habits, even a high-quality product can be hard to use consistently. That's when buying it to be healthy turns into keeping it around just in case. Another advantage of this category is clear portioning. Many items come pre-portioned, which helps control intake and reduces overeating. This is especially helpful for people adjusting their weight or snacking habits. But if you usually eat larger meals, small portions may push you to add extra items, which can quietly increase overall costs. The key factor is sustainability. Diet-focused products only deliver value if you can use them repeatedly without feeling forced. If every meal feels like trying hard to be healthy, it's difficult to maintain long-term. On the other hand, when healthy foods are easy to eat, convenient, and familiar, they're far more likely to become a real part of everyday meals. 7. Fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables at Aldi tend to trigger two opposite reactions. Some shoppers trust them because the prices are straightforward, while others hesitate because the selection is limited. In reality, this section is built around a very clear philosophy: stock just enough to turn inventory quickly, rather than offering endless choices that keep shoppers browsing. The most noticeable difference is the smaller variety compared to traditional supermarkets. But that limited selection helps produce more faster and reduces how long items sit on the shelf. For shoppers with a regular routine, this is a major advantage. Fruits and vegetables are often fresher if you shop at the right time, and you're less likely to stand there sorting through dozens of nearly identical trays. Because turnover is fast, timing matters. Shopping right after shelves are restocked feels very different from stopping by later in the day. When produce has just been replenished, everything looks neater, fresher, and easier to choose. If you go late, you're more likely to see bins that have already been picked over, which can make quality feel lower, even if the price is still good. Portion size and usage are another key factor. Aldi typically sells produce in preset packages. This works well for people who cook regularly, but it can lead to waste for smaller households or anyone without a clear plan to use it soon. Fruits and vegetables are only truly cheap when you finish them before quality drops. Compared to other sections, Aldi's produce isn't meant for long-term stockpiling. It's better suited for short buying cycles, quick use, simple meals, and frequent cooking. If you're used to buying a lot and slowly working through it in the fridge, the experience may fall short of expectations. 8. The Premium Specially Selected line. The Specially Selected Premium line at Aldi often surprises shoppers, especially in a store known for minimalism and low prices. But that contrast is exactly its strength. Premium without being flashy, restrained rather than showy, and focused more on the eating experience than on eye-catching packaging. Specially Selected isn't meant for rushed everyday meals. It's designed for moments when you want a change of pace, weekend dinners, casual get-togethers, or simply eating a little better without overthinking it. Products in this line usually offer bolder flavors, more refined textures, and a clear sense of care compared to basic items. One standout feature is restraint. There aren't too many options within each category, which makes decisions easier and helps avoid impulse buys that end up forgotten. When you choose something from this line, you usually already know when you'll use it, who you'll share it with, and in what setting. That clarity increases the chance you'll actually use it and enjoy it. That said, this premium line doesn't fit every routine. If your priority is quick fullness, convenience, or eating the same foods every day, Specially Selected can feel like too much. Its richer flavors and more intentional use make it better suited for slower, more mindful meals. 9. Chocolate and sweets. Chocolate and sweets at Aldi are often the section where shoppers linger longer than expected, not because choices are overwhelming, but because the idea of just a little treat is easy to justify. Clean packaging, familiar flavors, and approachable prices all make the buying decision feel lighter than in other areas of the store. The strength of Aldi's chocolate lies in its clear positioning. Most products focus on classic flavors rather than unusual combinations or flashy designs. That creates a consistent experience. You know what you're getting as soon as you open it. For people who enjoy rich chocolate that isn't overly sweet, these are easy, everyday options without a sugar overload. One thing to watch is how often you use them. Chocolate and sweets deliver the most value when enjoyed regularly in moderate amounts. When bought on impulse or simply because they're convenient, it's easy to bring home more than you actually need. At that point, sweets stop being a small pleasure and turn into something you feel the need to manage. 10. Household items. Household items at Aldi don't usually grab attention right away, but they're one of the sections most likely to change buying decisions. There's no loud promotion or dense displays. Instead, items appear almost like gentle suggestions. Your home could be a little more convenient, and that subtle approach is exactly what makes many shoppers say yes faster than they expect. Most household items at Aldi are designed with a just enough mindset: compact, practical, and without unnecessary features. You won't see endless variations of the same product. Each selling cycle usually includes only a few options, enough to meet common needs. This approach saves time on comparison, but it also requires shoppers to know what they actually need, rather than buying something simply to have one more. Seasonality is another key trait. Many household items appear only for a short period, tied to specific seasonal needs. That can make shopping feel like stumbling upon exactly what you need at the right moment, rather than actively searching for it. But if the need isn't truly urgent, the item can easily turn into long-term backup clutter at home. In terms of quality, Aldi's household items generally perform well for basic use. They're not meant for heavy-duty use over many years or constant high stress. Instead, they fit the day: routines, moderate frequency, and households that don't want to invest heavily in a single small function. When expectations are set correctly, the overall experience is usually quite reliable. 11. Shopping strategy. Aldi's shopping strategy isn't about knowing a long list of hacks. It's about maintaining a steady, intentional shopping rhythm. Aldi is built for fast trips and quick decisions, and without awareness, it's easy to walk out with items that seem reasonable but aren't truly necessary. The first key is to enter the store with a clear role in mind. Either you're there to buy essentials, or you're there to browse weekly items. Mixing these two goals often leads to a broken shopping list. When saving money is the priority, finish your essentials first, then decide whether it's worth walking through other sections. Next is shopping based on usage, not promotions. Aldi moves inventory quickly and offers strong prices, but that doesn't mean every cheap item belongs in your cart. An item is worth buying only if you'll use it in the next few days, not if you're hoping you might use it someday. Shopping close to your meal plans and daily routine reduces both waste and extra trips to replace what you didn't really need. Another effective strategy is learning to walk away. Aldi always has something new, and not buying today doesn't mean you've missed your only chance. Once you're comfortable leaving behind items you don't truly need, shopping becomes much lighter and less stressful. In the end, smart shopping isn't about how many tips you know, it's about knowing when to stop. When you shop according to your real routine, use everything you bring home, and don't let low prices lead the way, Aldi becomes a place for sustainable savings. Buying less but buying right always delivers more value than filling the cart. Which tip from the video surprised you the most? You may have shopped at Aldi dozens of times, but there's a good chance you're still missing some of the biggest money-saving tricks the store never spells out directly. Behind those surprisingly low prices is a set of quiet operating strategies, timing secrets, and discount patterns that only longtime Aldi pros really understand. And these subtle tactics are exactly what help you get brand-level quality while paying up to 30–70% less. Once you understand how Aldi actually works, each trip to the store becomes more than just grabbing groceries. It becomes a way to optimize every dollar you spend. You'd be awesome if you liked this video. 10. The secret world of Aldi wine. A lot of people go to Aldi just for everyday groceries, completely unaware that its wine section is one of the biggest hidden treasures in the store. What surprises shoppers the most isn't just the low price, it's the fact that Aldi wines regularly win international awards while costing only around $8–12. It sounds unbelievable, but once you understand Aldi's system, it makes perfect sense. Aldi doesn't buy wine through multiple middlemen like most major retailers. Instead of moving from distributor to reseller to store, Aldi contracts directly with vineyards. Most people don't realize that each time wine passes through another layer, the price jumps by 20–30%. By cutting out those layers entirely, Aldi brings bottles to the shelf at almost their original cost, meaning you get quality that rivals expensive brands for a fraction of the price. Even more surprising, many Aldi wines actually come from the same regions, and sometimes even the same producers, that supply high-end labels sold at specialty wine shops. The biggest differences are the label on the bottle and the marketing budget. Aldi doesn't spend money on ads, glossy posters, influencer campaigns, or elaborate packaging. Every dollar saved goes straight back into keeping prices low. Aldi's wine selection is also highly curated. Their tasting team samples thousands of bottles every year, but only selects a few hundred for shelves. That's why it's rare to grab a bad bottle if you choose one of the varieties customers consistently rate highly. Another reason people return again and again is consistency. Whether you buy it this month or 3 months from now, the flavor stays the same. No guessing, no batch variability. That reliability is especially valuable when you're hosting a dinner or stocking up for a gathering and want something affordable but still impressive. 9. The Red Sticker Markdown System. If you want to save big at Aldi, the red sticker markdowns are the golden signal you absolutely need to watch for. These aren't random discounts like at other grocery chains. Red stickers follow a pattern, and once you learn the pattern, you can grab the exact items you want for 30% to 70% off just by going at the right time. Red stickers typically appear on items approaching their best buy date or on products Aldi needs to clear to make room for incoming shipments. But here's the key. The items are still fresh, still safe, and still perfectly good to use. Aldi doesn't discount damaged or low-quality food. They simply optimize stock rotation. The best times to hunt for red stickers are Wednesday and Sunday, when stores prepare for weekly inventory changes. If you show up in the morning, especially between 7 and 9 a.m., you'll likely find the deepest markdowns. Bread, meat, dairy, frozen foods, and prepared items are commonly discounted during these windows. Meat and dairy often get the biggest cuts because Aldi prioritizes having consistently fresh shelves. For meal planners, this is the perfect opportunity to stock up on quality ingredients without stretching your budget. A lot of shoppers also don't know that Aldi may offer additional markdowns on items with slightly dented packaging or scuffed boxes. The product inside is completely fine, but the imperfect outer box can save you an extra 10 to 20%. If you spot something you want with cosmetic damage, don't hesitate to ask. Aldi cashiers are typically very flexible with this type of markdown. One more tip. Red sticker items disappear fast. If you find something you use regularly at a deep discount, grab it immediately. The best deals usually vanish before lunchtime, especially midweek. 8. The secret behind Aldi's low prices. If you've ever wondered how Aldi manages to sell cheaper than most grocery stores while keeping quality on par, the answer lies in how they operate behind the scenes. Aldi doesn't chase the bigger supermarket is better model. They streamline everything, from store layout and staffing to product displays and ordering systems. This lean approach is what keeps their prices consistently low, not just temporarily discounted. The biggest factor is that they almost never advertise. While major brands spend millions on TV ads, billboards, and social media campaigns, Aldi chooses to let the products speak for themselves. No flashy marketing means they don't need to add those extra costs into the price tag. When you pay for an item at Aldi, you're paying for the actual product, not the celebrity face in a commercial. Aldi also works directly with manufacturers instead of going through multiple distributors. Each layer of distribution usually adds a significant markup. Removing those layers helps Aldi maintain quality while cutting costs. That's why many Aldi private label items come from the same factories that produce well-known national brands, but at a much lower price because they're not carrying all the extra overhead. Another important piece of the puzzle is their small, fast, low-staff stores. Aldi doesn't need many employees because everything is designed for efficiency. Packaging includes multiple barcodes, shelves double as shipping boxes, and customers bag their own groceries. All of this reduces labor costs without compromising the shopping experience. With lower fixed costs, it's much easier for Aldi to keep prices low. 7. Smart timing to shop at Aldi. One of the best ways to save more at Aldi isn't about choosing what to buy. It's about choosing when to go. The timing of your shopping trip directly affects freshness, markdown opportunities, and even how long you'll wait in line. Once you understand Aldi's weekly rhythm, every visit becomes noticeably more efficient. If you want the freshest produce, shop on Tuesday or Wednesday morning. That's when most stores have just received their new shipments and finished stocking. The vegetables, fruit, and fresh items you see then are often less than a day old. The difference in freshness is very noticeable compared to late week stock that's been picked over multiple times. Looking for markdowns? Wednesday afternoon is the most important window. This is when the weekly cycle resets, and Aldi needs to clear items nearing their best buy date to make room for new shipments. You'll find plenty of red sticker deals with great savings. If you're planning budget-friendly meals or want meat, dairy, or baked goods at the best prices, this is the golden hour. Another option is Sunday, when some stores adjust inventory before the new week. While the deals aren't as plentiful as midweek, you can still find light markdowns on certain fresh items. On the other hand, Saturday afternoon is the time to avoid, unless you enjoy crowds. It's the busiest period of the week. Shelves get picked clean, and checkout lines can be 3 times longer than usual. Not ideal for anyone who wants a quick in-and-out trip. Shopping early in the week also means fuller shelves with fewer empty spots, which is especially helpful if you're hunting for limited quantity items or Aldi finds that tend to sell out fast. Once you know the best times to visit Aldi, you save not just money but also time and energy. Each trip becomes less of a gamble and more of a strategic move, helping your cart deliver more value without spending more. Like the video if this surprised you. 6. Employee culture and service speed. If you shop at Aldi often, you'll notice something interesting. The employees work faster and more proactively than at many other supermarkets. It's not because they're rushing, it's because the entire workflow is designed to help them work efficiently, from scanning items to assisting customers. And that speed actually creates a smoother, more pleasant shopping experience for shoppers. First, Aldi employees are extremely familiar with the store layout. Aldi stores are smaller than traditional supermarkets, so staff know exactly where everything is. If you're looking for something uncommon, like German chocolate or a specialty spice, an employee can point you to it within seconds. Their scanning speed is also something that leaves a strong impression. Aldi cashiers are trained to process items continuously without stopping to search for a barcode. Most packages have multiple barcodes, so they can scan instantly with one pass. Another surprise for many shoppers is how willing Aldi employees are to help when you run into minor issues, like forgetting a quarter for the shopping cart. Most employees will lend you one right away without making a fuss. As for quality control, employees check expiration dates more frequently than you might expect. Cold items and fresh goods are inspected daily, and the entire store is reviewed several times a week. If you accidentally buy something that's damaged or not up to standard, they'll fix it immediately, refund, replace, or help with the return. All fast and without complicated paperwork. What keeps this positive work attitude going is that Aldi pays better than the industry average. Even part-time employees can receive benefits if they meet the required hours. When workers are treated well, they're more motivated to help customers, and it shows clearly in how they communicate. Polite, efficient, and never cold. 5. The twice as nice guarantee. One thing that makes people feel secure when trying new products at Aldi is the twice as nice guarantee. It's not just a generous promise, it's Aldi showing that they truly believe in their product quality. And if you know how to take advantage of this policy, trying new items becomes almost risk-free compared to other supermarkets. What's even more impressive is that many stores don't even require a receipt. Every Aldi product has its own packaging and unique code, so employees can recognize it instantly. This makes the return process extremely quick. Just bring the product in, give a simple explanation, and they'll handle it without asking too many questions. This policy is especially useful when you want to try something completely new. Maybe you're choosing between 2 yogurts or want to test one of Aldi's imported pastries but worry it won't suit your taste. With twice as nice, you can try freely without worrying about wasting money. This is one of the reasons so many shoppers become loyal fans of Aldi's private labels. You feel like you're treated with VIP protection. Although the official rule is 60 days, in reality, many locations are more flexible if the product is intact or the issue is clear. The abuse rate for this policy is very low, around 2%, so Aldi doesn't feel the impact. Their quality is strong enough that customers rarely need to return items, and this generous policy becomes a standout advantage that sets them apart in the industry. 4. Self-checkout and fast scan technology. If you've ever dreaded waiting in long checkout lines, Aldi's self-checkout is exactly the solution that helps you shorten your trip and stay in control. While not every store had it in the past, in recent years self-checkout has become standard at most locations. Many shoppers don't even realize it's available because Aldi rolled it out quietly, without the big promotional signage you see at major chains. What makes Aldi's self-checkout different is how responsive the scanners are. When you pass an item over the reader, it registers almost instantly and rarely throws an error. Those annoying prompts like, "Please place item in the bagging area," or "Associate assistance required," happen far less frequently than at other supermarkets. Aldi designed the interface to be simple, with large buttons and minimal steps, so even customers who aren't used to self-checkout find it smooth and stress-free. Another big advantage is that you can scan items directly into your reusable bags as you go. This eliminates the rush after paying. You don't have to juggle bagging your groceries while worrying about holding up the line behind you. For people who buy just a few items or light, quick-grab products, self-checkout truly saves a lot of time. Aldi is also continuously improving its technology. Some stores have already switched to a system that doesn't rely on weight sensors, instead using motion tracking cameras to monitor scanned items. That means you no longer have to worry about your bag being too light or too heavy and triggering a false error that stops the transaction. This approach makes the entire self-checkout process more seamless, without interruptions caused by technical glitches. 3. The middle aisle. If you've ever been to Aldi, even just once, you probably know the feeling of going in for eggs or milk, and somehow walking out with an air fryer, a set of glassware, or a waffle maker. The culprit is the middle aisle, the section in the center of the store that many Aldi fans jokingly call the aisle of shame. But in reality, there's nothing shameful about it. This is where Aldi gets the most creative, and it's a big part of why people come back every week. The middle aisle changes constantly. Each week brings a new theme: kitchenware, home decor, gardening tools, small appliances, toys, holiday items, and more. You never know what you'll find until you walk in, and that unpredictability is what makes the area so appealing. Many people stop by even with no intention of buying anything, just to see what interesting items Aldi has stocked for the week. What makes the middle aisle even more special isn't just the surprise factor, but the pricing. Most products here are better quality than you'd expect. Many items come from the same factories that manufacture goods for major national brands, but Aldi sells them under its private labels at a fraction of the price. From cookware sets and bedding to sports equipment, prices are often only 40 to 60% of what you'd pay at big retail stores. You can think of the middle aisle as a limited-time product experience zone. It's nothing like the regular grocery aisles. Aldi intentionally keeps this section rotating to give shoppers a reason to return. And that constant sense of something new makes grocery shopping more fun. Every week brings a fresh little surprise. 2. Efficient operating model and small format stores. One of the biggest reasons Aldi can maintain consistently low prices is its lean operating model. Their stores are much smaller than traditional supermarkets, averaging around 16,000 square feet, roughly one-third the size of major chains. But instead of seeing this as a limitation, Aldi turns it into a major competitive advantage. Smaller spaces make inventory management dramatically simpler. Employees don't have to walk long distances between departments, which boosts productivity and reduces the need for large staffing. And when you ask where something is, almost any employee can point you in the right direction instantly. Another optimization lies in how Aldi displays products. Instead of unpacking each item and arranging them neatly on shelves, Aldi places the entire shipping box directly onto the display rack. They just open the top. This cuts restocking time significantly and reduces labor costs by a wide margin. Each product moves from the truck to the shelf with far fewer steps than in a traditional supermarket, allowing the store to run smoothly even with just a few employees during the morning shift. Their bag-your-own-groceries policy is also part of the lean model. With no cashier doing the bagging, Aldi saves on labor costs and shortens checkout times. It may feel unusual the first time you shop there, but once you get used to it, Being able to organize your groceries your own way is surprisingly convenient. 1. The Aldi effect. Many people think Aldi's benefits stop at cheaper groceries, but in reality, the presence of an Aldi store in a neighborhood creates a far bigger impact, big enough that economists refer to it as the Aldi effect. It's a quiet phenomenon, but it directly affects the wallets of everyone in the community, even those who never set foot inside Aldi. When a new Aldi opens in an area, nearby supermarkets almost immediately adjust their prices. Studies show that within the first 3 months, competitors' prices drop by an average of 7%. The reason is simple. Aldi's lean model, low costs, and stable low pricing force larger chains to reduce their prices if they don't want to lose customers. That means even if you stick with your usual store, you still benefit from Aldi being there. This competitive pressure is so strong that many chains have had to rethink their layouts, expand their private label offerings, and simplify operations to keep up. From Walmart to Kroger and even Whole Foods, nearly every major retailer has adopted some version of the Aldi playbook, something few would have predicted just a few years ago. The ripple effect spreads across the entire industry, helping stabilize overall food prices at a time when inflation is rising. When you understand the secrets behind Aldi's operations, you don't just save money, you shop smarter. You buy at the right time, choose the right products, and take advantage of deals most people overlook. Aldi isn't just a place to save a few dollars. It's a streamlined system that helps you manage your weekly spending more efficiently. Shop with intention, and your wallet feels lighter without sacrificing the quality of your meals. Which tip from the video surprised you the most? You walk into Aldi with a 25-cent coin confident that you're shopping cheaper than anywhere else. But by 2026, what you unlock may not be just a shopping cart. Prices could change while you're standing in front of the shelf. Discounts may be reserved only for those willing to hand over personal data. And shoppers who value privacy could end up waiting longer in line and paying more. Aldi is changing in ways most shoppers were never clearly told about. Let's take a closer look at the quiet shifts now unfolding to see what low prices are really being traded for and whether Aldi's familiar advantage still holds up the way you think it does. You'd be awesome if you liked this video. 1. Tightening the twice-as-nice return policy. The twice-as-nice guarantee was once one of the biggest reasons shoppers felt confident choosing Aldi. If a product didn't meet expectations, had quality issues, or was simply a wrong buy, customers could return it and receive both a refund and a replacement. This policy reduced the risk of trying Aldi's private label products, which make up most of what's on its shelves. But heading into 2026, that policy is being quietly tightened. There's been no official announcement, no clear update on the website. Instead, changes are happening at the returns. Counter receipts are now required even for low-priced items. Usage is checked more carefully, and each case is reviewed individually rather than being automatically approved. Returns that used to be quick and painless now feel awkward and time-consuming. For example, you buy a bag of Aldi private label snacks, open it, and find it stale and not crunchy. Before, you could take it to the counter and get a refund plus a replacement with no hassle. Now, staff may ask for a receipt. Inspect how much has been opened and decide whether the return will be accepted. No one says the policy has changed, but the experience alone is enough to make many shoppers think it's better not to try something new next time, just to avoid the trouble. Behind this shift is growing pressure to control losses and rising operating costs. When prices are being held steady through shrinkflation and profit margins are tighter, returns become an area that needs to be restricted. Some stores have even started tracking return frequency through payment cards or app accounts, making the shopping experience uneven from one customer to another. For consumers, this means higher risk when shopping. Trying new products is no longer as easy and mistakes are on you. In a time when prices are no longer as cheap as they once were, losing a friendly, no-questions-asked return policy is a major change, one many people only realize after it's already affected them. 2. Phasing out sub-brands, unifying under the Aldi label. Another change happening quietly but with deep impact on how shoppers remember and evaluate products at Aldi is the gradual removal of sub-brands in favor of a single unified Aldi label. In the past, even though most items were private label, Each product category still had familiar names that helped shoppers tell them apart. You knew which cereal line you were buying, which chicken product, and which snack range. Those names created shopping memories. If something was good, you remembered to buy it again. If it was bad, you knew what to avoid. As everything is folded into one unified Aldi. Original look, that sense of choice starts to fade. The packaging looks cleaner and more modern, but at the cost of fewer visual anchors for recognition. A product that once had consistent quality may change suppliers, recipes, or country of origin, and shoppers struggle to tell whether it's the same line or a quiet replacement. This blurs not only positive memories but also past bad experiences. This standardization brings another advantage for the retailer. Detailed information becomes harder to notice. When every label uses the same layout, the same fonts, and the same placement for ingredient panels, shoppers are more likely to miss small but important differences, changes in ingredients, allergen warnings, or sourcing. The shopping experience feels smoother, but it also raises fewer questions. Visually, Aldi is moving closer to the look of a clean premium chain. But in terms of experience, shoppers lose an important tool, the ability to compare based on memory. When everything carries the same name and style, it no longer feels like you're choosing between different product lines, you're simply picking up an item from the shelf. 3. Dynamic pricing. One of the hardest changes for shoppers to notice, but also one of the most concerning, is that prices are no longer as fixed as they used to be. As Aldi moves toward electronic shelf labels, the price you see is no longer a firm promise but a number that can change depending on the moment. On the surface, everything still looks familiar. The same aisles, the same products, and the same minimalist style. But behind the scenes is a system capable of adjusting prices based on peak hours, store traffic, weather conditions, or even shopping behavior. Buying milk during the after-work rush may cost more than during a quiet midday visit. On hot days, bottled water creeps up in price. On rainy weekends, last-minute essentials are suddenly no longer cheap. What puts shoppers at a disadvantage is how subtle these changes are. You see the price, put the item in your cart, and move on. No one tells you the price was lower a few minutes ago or might be higher a few minutes later. Unlike paper tags which stay the same all day, electronic pricing turns shopping into an experience without a fixed reference point. Shoppers don't know whether they're paying a normal price or one inflated by timing. Aldi frames this as a way to operate more efficiently. In reality, it shifts the balance of power. When the retailer knows exactly when you shop and under what conditions, they gain a decisive advantage in optimizing profit moment by moment. Even just a few extra cents per customer during peak hours can add up to a massive sum, while shoppers may never fully realize it's happening. 4. Customer tiering. In the past, walking into Aldi was a fairly flat experience, no membership cards, no reward codes, and no logins required. Everyone saw the same prices and paid the same amount. That simplicity was once a major differentiator. But now, a fundamental shift is taking shape. At Aldi, customers are increasingly being tiered based on whether or not they use the app. Once the app becomes a required gateway, the shopping experience starts to split into 2 lanes. For app users, entry is faster, checkout is smoother, and most importantly, they gain access to special prices and exclusive deals. For those who don't use the app, everything slows down, longer lines, fewer options, and sometimes higher prices for the exact same product. No one calls it a penalty outright, but the feeling of being pushed to the back of the line is unmistakable. What's notable is that this divide isn't based on how much you spend, but on how willing you are to share data. The app doesn't just track what you buy, it collects how often you shop when you visit and how you make choices. That data is used to personalize offers, but it also shapes how you're treated in-store. The more data you give, the better the experience you receive. For older shoppers, cash payers, or anyone who simply doesn't want to be tracked, the alternative is to accept a basic experience, no deals, no priority, no convenience. Over time, this makes not using the app a clear disadvantage, even though it used to be the default. Like this video if this surprises you. 5. Gradually removing self-checkout. Another change many shoppers only notice when they reach the checkout is that self-checkout stations are slowly disappearing from Aldi. Over the past few years, self-checkout was seen as a step forward, faster, less stressful, and more controlled. Shoppers could scan their own items, pack at their own pace, and avoid squeezing into rushed cashier lanes. But that convenience is now being quietly rolled back. The stated reason is inventory loss. After self-checkout was introduced, incidents of mis-scanning missed items or intentional theft increased. For Aldi, a retailer operating on very thin margins, this level of risk is hard to accept. Instead of upgrading systems or increasing oversight, many stores have chosen to shut the machines down. The problem is that self-checkout is being removed without a corresponding increase in staff. Traditional checkout lanes are now handling twice the volume while cashier numbers remain the same. The result is long lines during peak hours, tighter spaces, and a shopping rhythm that once felt quick and efficient becoming heavy and slow. Shoppers lose time. Employees face more pressure. What was once seen as German-style efficiency starts to feel like a bottleneck. The contradiction is hard to miss. While self-checkout is eliminated due to a lack of trust in shoppers, Aldi is simultaneously preparing more advanced surveillance systems. In other words, self-payment is considered too risky, but comprehensive tracking of shopping behavior is being expanded. For the average shopper, the most obvious reality is simple: visiting Aldi during peak hours now means waiting longer. This change isn't loud or dramatic, but it steadily erodes the experience. As wait times increase, low prices begin to carry an invisible cost: your time and your patience. 6. The surveillance supermarket model. A larger shift is taking shape behind Aldi's shelves: the rise of the surveillance supermarket, where convenience and low prices are no longer free. Instead, they are exchanged for personal data. The familiar shopping experience, walk in, pick items, pay, leave, is being replaced by a far more detailed tracking system. In this new model, shoppers are encouraged to use the app to scan in at the entrance. Cameras and shelf sensors record every item you pick up and put back, and even the moments when you hesitate. Checkout nearly disappears: you simply walk out. On the surface, it's a seamless experience, especially for those who hate waiting in line. But the cost is that every aspect of your shopping behavior is recorded. That data goes far beyond what you bought. It reveals when you shop how fast or slow you move, which products hold your attention longer, and what you put back after seeing the price. This information is far more valuable than a receipt. It allows retailers to adjust store layouts, personalize promotions, and even shape the prices you see on future visits. For those who don't want to participate in this system, the alternative is a traditional experience: longer lines, manual checkout, and fewer discounts. No one forces you to hand over your data, but as the differences in time, price, and convenience become more pronounced, opting out becomes increasingly difficult. What begins as a choice gradually turns into quiet pressure. 7. Closing older stores and creating food deserts in low-income communities. Aldi's closure of older stores in low-income areas is producing a clear outcome: many communities are losing their only source of fresh food. When a store's sign comes down the gap, it leaves behind isn't just an empty building, it's a disruption to the daily lives of thousands of residents who relied on it. As Aldi continues to expand, it prioritizes locations with strong purchasing power and stable profitability. Stores in small towns or lower-income neighborhoods, even those that have served their communities for years, are increasingly viewed as financially unviable. They are shut down, leaving local residents with very limited alternatives. When a supermarket disappears, the remaining options are often convenience stores or discount chains that mainly sell packaged and processed foods. The distance to the nearest full supermarket can stretch to dozens of miles beyond the reach of older adults, people without private transportation, or households living on fixed incomes. Access to fresh food stops being a choice and becomes a real barrier. Food deserts don't form because communities don't need supermarkets, but because that need isn't profitable enough. While the brand continues to promote an image of serving every family, the reality shows that only areas meeting financial targets are allowed to remain. 8. Shrinkflation. Shrinkflation is becoming a familiar tool for Aldi to maintain its low-price image while operating costs continue to rise. Instead of raising prices outright, the shelf price stays the same while the amount inside quietly shrinks. For rushed shoppers, the feeling of saving money remains intact. For those who look closely, the real value has changed. The signs are easy to miss: meat trays weighing a few ounces less, cereal boxes getting slimmer, and toilet paper rolls feeling looser. Each change is small, just enough to avoid strong reactions. But over time, they add up. Shoppers end up paying the same amount for less product. This tactic works especially well at Aldi, where many customers assume it's always cheaper here and rarely double-check unit pricing. Shrinkflation also exploits muscle memory. You grab the same item from the same spot on the shelf at the same price, and your brain skips the details. It's only when the product runs out faster than usual, or when you compare it to an older package, that the difference becomes obvious. By then, the change has already become the new normal. What makes this more effective is that shrinkflation doesn't happen in isolation. It comes alongside label unification, packaging changes, and visual refreshes that make it harder to tell which version is the original and which one has been reduced. Comparison becomes blurred, especially for private label products with no clear brand reference. When prices stay the same but quantities shrink, shoppers begin paying today's prices for yesterday's value. And in that context, Aldi's cheaper advantage is no longer clear. It only exists if you don't look too closely. 9. The aisle of shame loses its surprise factor and the experience gets flattened. The aisle of shame used to be the reason many people walked into Aldi without a shopping list. You came in for milk only to stop in your tracks over something unexpected: a tent, a mini coffee maker, or a pair of rain boots sitting next to gardening tools. That deliberate chaos made shopping feel like exploration, and it was the soul that set Aldi apart from other supermarkets. That experience is now being gradually flattened. As Aldi expands and targets a more mainstream audience, data suggests the unexpected treasure hunt model isn't as effective as it once was. Quirky, hard-to-predict items are seen as risky. In their place are safer, easier-to-sell, more predictable products. The aisle of shame still exists, but it surprises far less often. When algorithms start deciding what goes on the shelf, the element of chance disappears. You no longer feel like you've stumbled into an interesting impulse buy. Instead, you're walking past a display that's been carefully calculated. Fewer surprises mean less emotion. And when shopping stops feeling like discovery, shoppers focus almost entirely on price and area, where Aldi now faces much stronger competition. This shift makes Aldi look cleaner and more predictable, but also more like every other major chain. The aisle of shame goes from being a destination to just another side aisle, one you pass through out of habit, not curiosity. 10. Greenwashing. Green packaging commitments were once one of the big promises that helped Aldi build its image as cheap but responsible. The company talked about reducing plastic, increasing recycling, and moving toward more environmentally friendly solutions. But when you look at an actual shopping cart, the gap between those promises and reality becomes increasingly obvious. Thin plastic still wraps fresh produce. Foam trays still sit under fresh meat. Plastic mesh bags for fruit, hard to recycle film. For frozen foods, and mixed material plastics that are nearly impossible to process are still everywhere. The green commitments haven't disappeared, but tangible results haven't kept pace. Instead of acknowledging slow progress, Aldi has shifted toward a different approach: greenwashing. Recyclable labels are printed prominently, often paired with the familiar phrase, "check locally." In theory, that's true. In practice, most local recycling facilities can't process these types of plastics. The end result is still the regular trash bin. The only difference is that shoppers feel a little less guilty. Even products promoted as alternatives, such as thicker reusable plastic bags, don't really solve the problem. Most shoppers use them a few times and then discard them. These bags break down more slowly than thin plastic, leaving behind heavier waste that draws less attention. The problem doesn't go away, it's simply hidden behind marketing language. Greenwashing doesn't damage the environment overnight. It erodes trust. When shoppers realize that most of the responsibility is pushed onto them sorting correctly, recycling properly, while packaging choices remain limited, the green promise becomes a thin shell. And when that shell peels away, what's left is a familiar question: is this a genuine effort, or simply a way to make the problem feel more acceptable? Aldi isn't changing in just one isolated area. It's reshaping the relationship between the retailer and its shoppers. Pricing is more flexible. The shopping experience is increasingly tiered. Return policies are harder to use, and the commitments that once built trust are fading. Low prices are no longer a given, they come with unspoken conditions. The real value for viewers is learning to shop more deliberately, compare prices by weight, and understand that you're trading data, time, and choice for prices that only seem cheap. Which part of the video surprised you the most? Did you know that most people leave Aldi feeling like they probably saved money? But when they look back at the end of the month, their spending still adds up fast. The issue isn't the shelf prices, it's what you choose to buy. In the same store, there are products so ordinary looking that most shoppers walk right past them. Yet they're items Aldi employees quietly buy over and over because the quality far exceeds the price. This will be a list of items that only insiders truly know are worth buying. And with just a few right choices, the way you shop at Aldi can change completely. You'd be awesome if you liked this video. Doi, Park Street Deli, Fresh Pico de Gallo Salsa. Park Street. Deli's fresh pico de gallo is one of the easiest items to overlook at Aldi, yet it's a regular buy among employees. It's not in the familiar shelf-stable sauce aisle, but tucked away in the refrigerated section, with simple packaging that doesn't grab attention. But because it's fresh salsa, made with real, chopped ingredients, it delivers a completely different experience from bottled salsas. The biggest difference shows up the moment you take a bite. This isn't a salsa that's been pureed and heavily seasoned to hide the ingredients. The diced tomatoes stay juicy, the onions aren't harsh, the cilantro is used just enough to give a fresh aroma, and the acidity is balanced rather than sharp. It feels much more like something made fresh in a home kitchen than a mass-produced product. Many Aldi employees choose this not because it's the best salsa on the shelf, but because it works in so many everyday meals. Spoon it over scrambled eggs in the morning, add it to burritos or tacos, or simply pour it over hot rice with grilled meat. Everything feels cleaner and easier to eat. No extra sauces, no mixing, no prep. Open the container and it's ready to go. Another reason this pico de gallo stands out is its simple ingredient list. There's no sense that you're eating something overly processed. Because it's fresh, it doesn't last as long, but in return, it feels lighter and easier on the stomach. This is the kind of product you buy the first time out of curiosity, then come back for because it answers a very practical question. What can I eat quickly today that's still good? 11. Specially selected aged cheddar cheese. Specially selected aged cheddar isn't a cheese that tries to impress with luxury branding or elaborate packaging. What brings people back to it is a very straightforward eating experience. Aged cheddar has a firm structure, not crumbly, with that characteristic slight crumble when you bite into it. The saltiness is balanced, the richness is clean, and the flavor deepens gradually instead of hitting all at once. It's good enough to eat on its own, but it really shines in everyday meals. Grated over pasta, layered in sandwiches, melted on toast, or tossed into a warm salad. It melts evenly, doesn't release excess water, and doesn't leave a greasy afterfeel. Many shoppers who are used to buying gourmet cheddar at specialty stores assume that deep, aged flavor always comes with a high price. In reality, specially selected delivers a taste very close to much more expensive blocks of cheddar, at a price that feels reasonable for regular use. That's exactly why Aldi employees keep coming back to it. The quality is good enough that meals don't feel downgraded, and the price is low enough that it doesn't require second thoughts at checkout. One detail worth noting is that this cheddar doesn't try to stand out with extreme intensity. It doesn't overpower the palate. Instead, it's balanced and approachable for a wide range of people. Kids don't find it too sharp, while adults can still appreciate the depth of an aged cheese. That balance is what makes it the most used cheese in the fridge, not something saved away for a special occasion. 10. Kirkwood breaded chicken breast fillets, frozen. Kirkwood breaded chicken breast fillets are one of the best-selling items in Aldi's frozen section. Many people describe them as a budget Chick-fil-A copy, not because of advertising, but because of the actual eating experience. Thick chicken fillets, a well-balanced breading, easy to heat, and reliable for everyday meals. The chicken is cut into evenly sized fillets, not too thin to dry out and not so thick that it cooks unevenly. The breading on the outside is thin enough to get crispy when baked or fried, without feeling heavy or crumbly. When reheated, the chicken stays moist inside without turning dry or bland. This kind of consistency makes it feel right from the first purchase. And more importantly, it stays that way the next time you buy it. That consistency is what gives Kirkwood its appeal. For many families, this becomes a go-to solution for weeknight dinners. Quick, easy, no extra prep, and good enough that everyone eats without complaints. It works with buns, salads, rice, or sliced up for wraps. No need for complicated sauces or seasoning from scratch. Because it sells so well, this product often runs out. There's no warning and no online hold option. Many shoppers grab it as soon as they see a few bags left on the shelf, knowing from experience that it may be gone next time. Over time, it creates a clear buying habit. If you see it, you take it. No overthinking required. 9. Specially selected brioche bio buns. Specially selected brioche buns are something many people only notice after trying them once. On the bread shelf, they don't stand out with flashy packaging or bold bakery-style labels. The packaging is clean and minimal, with just enough information. But that simplicity hides a very real strength: how they actually taste. When you tear the bun open, the first thing you notice is the softness. The crumb is light but not fragile, with a gentle spring when pressed. Not dry, not crumbly. The sweetness is mild and balanced, never overpowering the filling. If lightly toasted, the bun turns a soft golden color and releases a subtle buttery aroma, enough to make an everyday meal feel more put together. What brings people back isn't the novelty, but the practicality. These buns work well for burgers, hot sandwiches, or quick breakfast with eggs and cheese. You don't need premium fillings to make them taste good. Even simple ingredients feel elevated. Another important point is the price. While many brioche buns make shoppers hesitate before adding them to the cart, Specially Selected is priced comfortably enough for regular use. That creates a very clear habit. Once it becomes familiar, people repurchase it without second-guessing. 8. Moser Roth Dark Chocolate. Moser Roth. Dark chocolate is made for people who want to actually taste chocolate, not just experience an immediate hit of sweetness. It doesn't rely on heavy sugar or artificial aromas to impress, but instead focuses on balanced richness and a clean finish. The texture and melt are the most noticeable qualities. The chocolate is thin, with a crisp snap when broken, not crumbly. Once in your mouth, it melts evenly, without leaving a waxy coating behind. The bitterness is controlled and smooth, not harsh, with a lingering but gentle finish. The ingredient list is another reason people keep coming back. Moser Roth uses real cocoa butter instead of substitute fats that create artificial richness. As a result, it feels lighter and less heavy after eating. For those who have tried dark chocolate before and found it too dry or overly bitter, Moser Roth is often a more approachable option. One square after a meal or a few pieces with coffee or tea is usually enough. Many people keep it in the fridge to maintain the snap and extend its shelf life. It's not meant for display or gifting. It's meant to be eaten regularly and enjoyed over time. With its reasonable price, Moser Roth isn't limited to special occasions. It becomes an everyday alternative to sugary candy. That balance between flavor and price is why this chocolate sells steadily without loud promotion. Like the video if this surprised you. 7. Simply Nature Organic Pasta Sauce. Simply Nature Organic Pasta Sauce is a choice that changes how many people think about jarred sauce. It doesn't rely on bold, overpowering flavors to make an immediate impression. Instead, it focuses on balance and everyday usability. The texture is well balanced, neither watery nor overly thick. The tomatoes are smoothly blended but still feel real, not pasty or mushy. When heated, the sauce clings well to pasta without separating or turning watery, and it doesn't require extra simmering to fix the flavor. This matters to many people because jarred sauces often struggle in this area. Flavor-wise, Simply Nature stays clean and restrained. The tomato flavor is clear, with gentle acidity and no sharp bite. Seasoning is measured, neither salty nor overly sweet. That makes the sauce versatile. It works on its own for quick meals or as a base for adding meat, vegetables, or cheese as needed. The ingredient list is another reason people come back. The Simply Nature label emphasizes organic ingredients without heavy added sugars or aggressive flavor enhancers. For those who cook regularly during the week, having a sauce that works reliably and doesn't feel heavy after eating is a clear advantage. Simply Nature is priced for everyday use, not just special occasions. That combination of consistent flavor, simple ingredients, and reasonable pricing is why many people treat it as a pantry staple rather than a one-time purchase. 6. Friendly Farms Greek Yogurt. Friendly Farms. Greek yogurt is a popular choice for people looking to add daily protein without paying the premium prices of more familiar brands. As soon as you open the lid, the thickness is obvious. Dense and smooth, not watery, with no need to stir to rescue the texture. This balance matters because Greek yogurt that's too thin is hard to use, while overly dry yogurt can taste harsh. Friendly Farms sits right in the middle, thick enough to eat on its own, yet stable enough to mix without breaking down. On the palate, the tang is present but mild, with no artificial sweetness in the aftertaste. Because of that, it doesn't require added sugar to be enjoyable. Many people use it very simply, mixed with fruit and oats in the morning, eaten plain as a midday snack, or used at night as a base for salad dressings or savory dishes. One reason Friendly Farms gets repeat purchases is how filling it feels. The protein content helps breakfast or snacks last longer, especially for people who eat in a hurry. It satisfies without feeling heavy, and it doesn't lead to quick hunger the way regular yogurt often does. Convenience plays a big role as well. There's no prep, no seasoning, just open and use. It works just as well packed for work as it does stored at home in the fridge. And at its price point, Friendly Farms is affordable enough for regular use, without making shoppers hesitate each time they add it to the cart. 5. Priano Bronze Cut Pasta. Priano Bronze Cut Pasta is the kind of product where the difference only becomes clear after cooking. Dry, it doesn't look especially remarkable, but once it hits boiling water and the dish comes together, the advantage shows up in how the pasta holds sauce. Because Priano uses bronze-cut molds, the surface of the pasta isn't slick like typical industrial pasta. Once cooked, the noodles have a slight roughness that allows sauce to cling instead of sliding to the bottom of the plate. When eaten, the pasta has a firm but balanced bite. It's not mushy, and it's not chalky or undercooked either. This texture signals pasta cooked properly, not pasta that simply hasn't been boiled long enough. For people who regularly make quick pasta dinners during the week, that consistency matters. Priano is also easy to work with because it pairs well with many sauces. From simple tomato sauce to cream-based sauces, or even just olive oil and a bit of cheese, it holds its role as a solid foundation. It doesn't overpower the sauce, but it doesn't disappear either. That's why many people choose Priano when cooking for family or guests. The dish looks cleaner and feels more put together, even when the preparation is very simple. 4. Deutsche Küche Spätzle, German Dumplings. Deutsche Küche. German-style dumplings are something many people only notice when they appear as a seasonal item, then later understand why regular shoppers tend to grab them so quickly. This isn't a product that stands out because of packaging or marketing. It earns its place through how it eats and how practical it is for everyday meals. When cooked, Deutsche Küche Spätzle has a balanced chew, soft but springy, not crumbly and not mushy. The dumplings hold their shape well, with a noticeable thickness and firmness when you bite into them, without feeling heavy afterward. The flavor is fairly neutral. It isn't pre-salted or aggressively seasoned, which is exactly what makes it so versatile. For weeknight dinners, having a flexible base like this saves a lot of time spent wondering, what should we make tonight? Because it's a seasonal product, it tends to sell out quickly once it hits the shelves. Many people who miss it once end up picking up a few packages the next time it appears. Not out of panic, but because they know it's something they can use flexibly across many meals, from quick solo dinners to family meals. 3. Simply Nature Organic Eggs. With Simply Nature Organic Eggs, what surprises many shoppers isn't the organic label, it's how reasonable the price feels when they carry the carton to checkout. At a time when egg prices have risen sharply in many places, finding properly certified organic eggs without heavy markups isn't easy. That's exactly why Aldi employees often quietly choose these eggs for their own families. What matters here is the real quality, not the packaging. Simply Nature eggs meet organic standards, with no growth hormones, no antibiotics, and clearly sourced farming practices. When cracked open, the yolks are deep in color, and the whites are firm with minimal water. Familiar signs of fresh eggs that haven't been sitting in storage too long. For people who cook regularly, even a simple fried or boiled egg makes the difference clear compared to many pricier organic options. But what truly keeps people coming back is the price. While many supermarkets sell organic eggs at levels that make shoppers hesitate over daily breakfasts, Simply Nature stays noticeably more affordable. That allows families to eat eggs regularly instead of treating them like a restricted health food. For active adults, children, or older family members, these eggs provide clean, easily absorbed protein with incredible flexibility in cooking. One small but very practical detail: these eggs turn over quickly. Because they sell well, cartons rarely sit on the shelf for long, helping freshness stay consistent. Aldi employees often joke that when the Simply Nature egg section has just been fully restocked, it only takes a few hours before it's visibly picked over again. 2. Kirkwood Fresh Chicken Tenderloins. If you ask Aldi employees which item sells the fastest and keeps customers coming back, Kirkwood Fresh Chicken Tenderloins almost always come up. Not because they're new or heavily advertised, but because once they hit the shelf, they move quickly. Shoppers who already rely on them often grab several packs at once, because if you hesitate, the shelf is usually empty. What drives repeat purchases is the consistent quality. The chicken tenderloins are cleanly trimmed and evenly cut, with very little tendon and no loose scraps mixed in. When you open the package, there's no off-smell and very little excess liquid, so prep time is minimal. For weeknight dinners, that simplicity makes cooking feel much easier. When cooked, the chicken cooks evenly and stays tender. This matters especially with tenderloins, since even a small temperature mistake can ruin the dish. The price is reasonable enough for regular use. No need to wait for special occasions and no long hesitation at checkout. 1. Earth-grown black bean burgers. Earth-grown plant-based burgers sell well because many people finish the meal feeling just as satisfied as they would after eating meat. The patties are firm, with a clear, substantial texture when you bite into them. No feeling of being left hungry. For shoppers who are used to meat-based meals, that experience alone makes them willing to add a meatless option into their weekly routine. When cooked, the burgers hold their shape well. They don't crumble or fall apart. They still look and eat like a proper burger, whether served on a bun, with salad, or alongside rice. Because they function so similarly to traditional burgers, people don't have to change their cooking habits or meal structure. That familiarity significantly lowers the mental barrier to choosing plant-based food. Aldi employees have noticed a clear pattern. Customers who buy earth-grown tend to come back for it. The first purchase is often out of curiosity, the next is intentional. These burgers move steadily, especially midweek, when people need a quick dinner that's still filling. Empty shelves aren't the result of big promotions, but of strong repeat demand. For shoppers, black bean burgers gradually become a keep-on-hand item. When they see them in stock, they grab an extra box to keep in the freezer for busy days. No overthinking, just cook and eat. That combination of convenience and reliability is what builds a lasting buying habit. This list highlights which Aldi items are truly repurchased, not because of advertising, but because they work well in everyday life. Instead of standing in the aisle guessing what to buy, you have a group of products that employees and shoppers have already tested and trusted. That makes Aldi trips quicker, simpler, and much easier to turn into a consistent weekly shopping routine. Which food item in the video surprised you the most? You can shop at Aldi for years and still miss some of the items that save you the most money. Not because they're hard to find, but because they're so familiar and ordinary that they're easy to overlook. In this piece, I'll point out the products that are truly worth buying at Aldi. Not based on advertising, but on how often they're actually used, their long-term savings, and their real-world practicality. If you want a shopping cart that's simpler but more effective, the next section will help you see Aldi differently. You'd be awesome if you liked this video. 1. Aldi Private Label Cheese. Aldi's private label cheeses are easy to repurchase because they fit into almost any meal and are priced reasonably. Many people try them first because they're cheaper than major brands. Then, keep them on their regular shopping list after a few uses. What earns Aldi cheese high marks is its consistency. Cheddar, mozzarella, and shredded blends all have familiar flavors, nothing too sharp, making them easy to use across a wide range of dishes. You can add them to a breakfast sandwich, sprinkle them over pasta or homemade pizza, toss them into salads, or use them in everyday family meals. The flavor is rounded enough for frequent use without becoming tiring. A clear advantage is the lower cost per serving. For families that cook at home, cheese is a staple ingredient, so saving even a few cents per package adds up week after week, month after month. Aldi cuts back on fancy packaging and brand costs, so shoppers are paying for the product itself, not the advertising. Aldi private label cheese is also convenient for portion control. Slices, shreds, and blocks all let you take exactly what you need, then store the rest without sacrificing quality. When you need to put together a quick meal, adding a bit of cheese can make it more filling without changing the menu. Because it's easy to use, reasonably priced, and works across many types of meals, Aldi private label cheese is a quiet but effective choice. 2. Imported European chocolate. Many people associate good chocolate with high prices and familiar brand names, but standing in front of Aldi's imported European chocolate shelf often changes that assumption quickly. These bars look simple, with clean packaging, but one taste is enough to understand why so many shoppers come back for them regularly. The standout feature is the noticeable quality. The chocolate has a smooth texture, with cocoa flavor coming through right from the first bite, followed by a clean, pleasant finish. Milk chocolate is creamy with balanced sweetness. Dark chocolate is rich without being harsh. This is the kind of chocolate meant to be enjoyed slowly, paired with coffee or as a light dessert after dinner. Convenience is another big plus. The bars are sized sensibly, easy to break, easy to store, and easy to portion. Some people enjoy them as a daily treat. Others use them for baking, grating them into cakes, making sauces, or decorating simple homemade desserts. One product, many uses with consistent flavor. Compared to imported chocolate sold at traditional supermarkets, Aldi's prices are far more accessible. The difference comes from the private label model and reduced operating costs, not from lower quality ingredients. Shoppers are paying for the eating experience, not elaborate packaging or marketing campaigns. That combination of authentic European flavor and reasonable pricing is exactly why Aldi's imported chocolate shows up so often in regular shopping carts. 3. Aldi Private Label Organic Eggs. Aldi's private label organic eggs are one of the most consistently purchased items because they're tied directly to everyday routines. From quick breakfasts and light lunches to weekend cooking, eggs show up regularly. When a product is used this often, the most important factor isn't small differences, it's long-term consistency. Aldi organic eggs deliver that reliability well. The eggs are uniform in size, the yolks develop a natural color when cooked, and the whites hold their structure. Whether you fry, boil, or bake with them, the results are fairly consistent without needing to adjust your cooking method. For families that cook frequently, this familiarity saves time and avoids unnecessary mistakes. Another practical benefit is how easily eggs fit into any meal. They're fast when you need something simple, yet flexible enough for more involved dishes. You can make a quick breakfast, add them to salads or fried rice, or use them in weekend baking. That flexibility keeps eggs from being limited to just one type of meal. In terms of cost, Aldi private label organic eggs are priced more reasonably than many comparable options. When eggs are a weekly repeat purchase, even a small difference per carton becomes noticeable over time. Aldi keeps prices accessible by simplifying packaging and operations, allowing shoppers to focus on everyday value. Because they're easy to use, consistent, and suitable for many types of meals, Aldi private label organic eggs tend to stay permanently in the carts of regular shoppers. 4. Baking ingredients. If there's one category that quietly delivers the most value on an Aldi trip, it's baking ingredients. You might not think much about them when you add them to your cart, but flour, sugar, vanilla, and chocolate chips show up again and again in familiar recipes, from weekend baking projects to quick everyday cooking. And because these items are used so often, choosing the right place to buy them has a bigger impact on your overall kitchen spending than you might expect. Aldi's private label baking ingredients are popular because they're easy to work with and dependable. The flour has a texture that works well for home recipes, from cookies and sponge cakes to simple baked goods. White and brown sugar are familiar and easy to adjust for sweetness. The vanilla has a mild, balanced aroma, and the chocolate chips melt evenly in the oven, delivering consistent results batch after batch. One practical advantage is that you don't have to overthink each purchase. Once you're used to them, you simply grab the same items off the shelf, No need to compare brands or read labels every time. For people who bake regularly or cook at home often, that familiarity saves time and reduces errors in the kitchen. From a cost perspective, this category makes a clear difference over the long run. Each bag of flour or package of chocolate chips may only be slightly cheaper, but added up over weeks and months, the savings become meaningful. Aldi cuts back on packaging and marketing costs, so shoppers are paying for the ingredients and how they perform, not for the brand name. 5. Canned goods. Canned foods such as vegetables, beans, and canned tomatoes play a foundational role in many kitchens, even though they rarely get much attention. They're not exciting to buy, but they show up consistently in everyday meals, especially on busy days when you need to cook quickly or don't have fresh ingredients on hand. The strength of Aldi private label canned goods lies in their reliability and flexibility. Canned beans work well in salads, soups, stews, or quick weeknight meals. Canned tomatoes have a balanced acidity and sweetness, making them an easy base for pasta sauce, pizza sauce, or home-style cooking. Canned vegetables may be simple, but they help fill gaps when the fridge is running low, especially toward the end of the week or before the next grocery trip. The convenience of this category is most obvious in the near-zero prep time. There's no washing, no chopping, just open the can and use it. For people cooking after work, that's a very practical advantage. With just a few added seasonings, some meat, or eggs, you can put together a complete, nutritious meal without much effort. Like the video if this surprised you. 6. Discounted bread and bakery items near their sell-by date. The discounted bread and bakery section at Aldi is an area many shoppers pass by quickly, but for regular buyers, it's often a worthwhile stop. These trays of baked goods are marked down not because there's anything wrong with them, but because they've passed the peak selling time of the day. When you see these items as part of a meal plan rather than something that must be eaten immediately, their value becomes much clearer. Many people choose near-expiration bakery items because they're easy to manage. At home, bread can be sliced and frozen, then toasted as needed. Croissants or rolls reheat quickly for breakfast. Some sweet pastries still pair well with coffee for several days. With a bit of planning, the idea of almost expired bread stops being a concern. What keeps people coming back to this section is the cumulative value over time. Instead of paying full price for fresh bread every week, choosing discounted bakery items leads to noticeable savings after just a few shopping trips. For families that regularly eat bread for breakfast or snacks, those small differences add up to a significant amount. Near-expiration bread also adds flexibility in the kitchen. Toasted bread can be used for hot sandwiches, garlic bread, or turned into simple desserts. That versatility helps ensure nothing goes to waste and everything gets used in different ways. 7. Peanut butter. Peanut butter at Aldi is an item many families buy regularly without much thought. It's not something that sparks curiosity or feels new, but it shows up repeatedly in daily meals, from morning to night. That frequent use is exactly what makes peanut butter one of the products worth choosing carefully from the start. The regular version has a familiar, easy-to-like flavor that works well with toast, sandwiches, or quick breakfasts. The organic version leans more toward a pronounced peanut taste, with a simple ingredient list that appeals to people who pay closer attention to what they eat. Together, these options cover different needs within the same household without requiring shoppers to look elsewhere. What makes peanut butter a long-term staple is its versatility. On a rushed morning, spreading it on toast is enough. For a quick snack, pairing it with apples or bananas is filling. In cooking, peanut butter can be used as a base for sauces, mixed into noodles, or blended into smoothies. Because of that flexibility, the jar rarely sits unused in the pantry. Peanut butter is also easy to store and doesn't require special conditions, making it a dependable option to keep on hand for quick meals. That combination of convenience and familiarity is what makes Aldi peanut butter a steady, practical choice, quietly supporting everyday routines without flashy packaging or heavy promotion. 8. Fresh milk. Fresh milk at Aldi is one of the most consistently purchased items in many households because it's directly tied to daily routines. From breakfast with cereal and coffee to cooking and baking, milk shows up constantly and is rarely replaced. When a product is used this often, what shoppers care about most is reliability and reasonable pricing. Aldi private label fresh milk meets those needs well. The taste is easy to drink, not overly rich, not heavy for everyday use. Kids drink it comfortably, and adults find it works just as well for coffee or cooking. The quality stays consistent from one purchase to the next, so people don't have to adjust their habits each time they buy it. One reason many shoppers stick with Aldi milk is its predictability. You know exactly which type you're buying, roughly how much it costs, and how long it will last. For families that buy milk weekly, that sense of certainty matters. It makes shopping faster and eliminates the need to compare brands every time you reach the shelf. From a spending perspective, milk is an item that makes a noticeable difference when viewed monthly. Each carton may only be slightly cheaper than a national brand, but repeated purchases add up to clear savings over time. Aldi keeps milk prices accessible by cutting brand and display costs, allowing shoppers to focus on everyday value. Neue pasta sauce. Pasta sauce at Aldi is a category many families buy regularly because it solves the problem of quick meals on busy days. Having a jar of sauce in the pantry makes dinner feel much simpler, whether you're cooking for one person or the whole family. That's why pasta sauce shows up repeatedly in shopping carts.